Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku had cursed spirit Quirk part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story 𝗵𝗃𝗍𝗄 from Wattpad. So let's start the video. After what he had done, the boy walked out of the alleyway without anyone noticing what he did to those people. He looked as people steered clear of him like they knew who he was, but he did not know any of those people who were looking at him with disgust, pity, and anger. Not a single person he knew at all. Hey Geto. Wait up for me, we still have 20 more minutes until the bell rings. Wait please. Except for one person he knew was his one and only friend 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏. He was a very optimistic person who looked past what others saw in him, the person who gave up his lunch to him when 𝗬𝗓𝗪𝗏 took his lunch from him, and the only person to accept him as a person and not for what his family had done in the past. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, hey Geto, what ya doin'? He said at the boy looking down with bags underneath his eyes, pondering about the what-ifs, but it was interrupted by 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏 wrapping his arm around the boy, smiling at him, somewhat making him feel better that he was here to cheer him up. Geto, nothing 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, but I told you to call me by my first name in public. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, ha, you are funny Geto, but sure I'll call you Izuku. Flashing him a smile, they both walked while 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏 talked about a girl asking him out, but the boy named Izuku was brought back into his mind, seeing the footage of his grandfather all bloody standing in front of a pile of dead bodies when he found himself sitting on his desk, not bothered by the fact he didn't remember how he got to class. Maybe it was 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏. The teacher walked in telling everyone to settle down. Izuku took out his textbook, starting to write the teacher's notes for the class, and the bell rang telling everyone that lunch had begun, though Izuku stayed seated when he heard people whispering about him. Why is 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏 hanging out with the kid? Doesn't he know who his family did? For real, 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏's rep is going to drop if he hangs out with that monster. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, Izuku. I came to get you for lunch, my treat. He was saying, looking at the group of people looking away from him, and grabbed Izuku's hand, dragging him to the school roof where 2 bento lunches sat on the edge of the railings. Izuku was used to this by now, so it wasn't a bother to him at all. He grabbed the lunch, opening it to see a rice bunny and curry on the side. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, my sister made that for me, but my mom already made this for me, so you can eat it since there is no way I'm going to eat all of this without your help. Izuku, thanks for the meal 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, no problem Izuku, you are my friend. He say, did you hear what the teacher said this year? Since we're third years we have to write about what we want to do in the future. Izuku, no, I didn't hear him at all. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, that's okay Izuku, since you are so clumsy I'll tell you, we have to fill out a form about what we want to do after we graduate from high school, and since I already did mine I'll tell you mine. I said that I want to be a hero, so what did you write? He said, noting while eating the rice and curry, eating all of it, closing the lid, drinking water that 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏 brought for him, and sitting there looking at the ground, still thinking about stuff. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, hello Izuku buddy, you going to tell me or not? Izuku, oh yeah, I also picked to be a hero. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, cool Izuku. Izuku, not too loud 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, I'm too tired. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, oh sorry, but still we can become pro heroes together and get into UA. There was silence, but 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏 didn't mind that his friend was the silent type of person, and he respected that and got used to him being quiet, though today was different about his silence. It felt off when he was about to ask him if he was alright, and Izuku beat him to it before he said anything. Izuku, 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, do you think being a hero will really fix everything? The things my family had done, do you really think that everyone will forgive us after I become a hero? Don't you think that it's hard? 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏's mind was thinking about what his dad said about not to be around Izuku because he was a monster in disguise who wouldn't hesitate to kill if he wanted to, but his dad didn't hang out with Izuku, so he wouldn't know that Izuku was just a human being with emotions. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, I don't really think about deep stuff, but I like doing the stuff other people can't. Who thinks doing what I want to is impossible? Who cares if my quirk is weak, strong, or is deemed a villain quirk? Hell, even if I'm quirkless, I'll best the people who think I can't. Izuku looked at his friend 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, smiling at him with a wide smile, pointing his thumb at himself with a proud look and determination. Izuku, see, didn't you say that your family is going out of town this weekend? 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, yeah, but I asked if I could stay home since I need to prepare for the UA exams, you know. Izuku, then I wish you luck, 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏. 𝗧𝗍𝗄𝗏, That's what I like to hear, Izuku. Finally you said something positive. Say you want to go eat some ramen after school, my treat. He was getting up, reaching his hand toward Izuku, who only looked at Akio and slightly smiled at him, taking his hand to get up, and they walked out talking about classes. The school day ended with him and Akio walking to a ramen shop close to school and reaching it without Katsuki Bakugo trying to bully him. The sun was starting to set, making Akio stop what he was talking about and pulled out his phone when his sister was yelling at him to get home. Akio, man, I wanted to come over to your house to play some games. Izuku, that is a shame, Akio, but you should get home now or your family will get worried about you being out this late. Akio, sigh. Okay Izuku, get home safe. Izuku, peace out, and I'll bring you that book I read last week. Izuku, bye Akio, have a safe trip. He watched as Akio talked to his sister on the phone, telling her that he'd be home soon. Izuku turned around, though he was brought back into his mind, still thinking about what Akio had told him earlier at lunch. Then I guess I'll follow my friend. Maybe this will help my family in the long run, no matter what anyone says. I will always hate you monkeys. Those words stuck with him the day he heard them for the first time since he was just a kid. Every adult had asked him to watch them. No. They made him watch it, and he was forced to look at the pictures of the victims. It was every day he saw the same pictures each day. He knew where everything was in those pictures, like where some hands were, heads, torsos. The faces of terror. Those people had frightened him so much that he dreamt of them every day, like this was his punishment from the gods. Izuku was walking home and walked into an alley where he heard someone screaming for help. There he saw a group of guys grabbing someone by the hands, forcing them down on the ground, making them bleed from their head. And the group yelling about them owning money to them, and he knew now what was going on at the moment. They were loan sharks beating the person for the money they got loaned from. Where's the money, lady? This was the last day to have it, but I still don't see it at all. Where the F is it at, huh? P please, I don't have it. Alright now please Jay, just give me 3 more days P please. The boss already gave you 3 days beach, and now you want more time. Please, I need the money to pay off my family's bills. Too late beach, you give us the money now or else. Hey man, why don't we just use her, man? Look at that smoking hot melon she has. P please don't I'll give you the money B, but please don't do this. I guess we should enjoy ourselves. Huh boys, tie her up. No. The man who was ordering them around stopped, and they looked back to him when they all saw his face start to twist, making him scream in pain, begging for the pain to stop, but it didn't stop at all and formed into an orb going to a hand sticking out. What the hell just happened? Izuku, I'd suggest that you give up since now you all won't leave this alley. The hell, it's just a punk little kid, huh? Hey, doesn't he look familiar? The man holding a rope started to sweat, remembering what he had seen many years ago, seeing a man with BLD over his face smiling at the camera. ISNTT, that SS Suguru Geto. Everyone who heard that name felt sick to their stomach all of a sudden just from that name being spoken, and one man ran in terror when his face twisted in the orb again, forming with the orb in Izuku's hand. Everyone stopped in their tracks, knowing that today would be their last day on Earth, and they all pleaded for him to stop. Please, no. Spare me. I have a family to feed, please don't kill me. My wife is 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏, please. The screams stopped and the woman on the ground trembled in fear, thinking that she too would succumb to death, but was pat on the head by Izuku, slightly smiling at her. Izuku, are you okay, ma'am? She looked at him, still scared of him, and nodded her head at him. Izuku got up from kneeling on the ground to look at the orb. What are you going to do with that? She watched as he put the orb into his mouth, putting his hands on his mouth, holding in a G. Finally he had swallowed it whole. The lady saw him start to walk away from her, looking down at the ground. Wait, are you really Suguru Geto? He looked back at her with a small smile that held no real happiness at all, it only had sadness to it. Izuku, no, but he is my relative. What's your name? Izuku, no one you need to know, Ms. Uraraka. He said to the woman on the ground, walking away from the alley to finally get home to his house, which was an old apartment with low rent, just enough for his family to get by, though he didn't know he was being followed by a woman on the roof smiling at his face. Mstr Geto's grandchild. He looks just like the Mr. Izuku walked up the stairs, reaching his apartment number, and unlocked the door, seeing that his mother was home since her work shoes were on the ground fixed. He smelt the food she was cooking right now and sat down at the table, where his mom greeted him with a smile and kissing his cheek, telling him to wash up 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝗏. So honey, how was school today? Akio give you lunch again? Izuku, Yeah, he did. I am thankful he is my friend. 𝗵𝗃, that's good Izuku, but have you decided what you want to do as soon as you're done with high school? Izuku, I signed up for the UA entrance exam with 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏. 𝗵𝗃, my baby is going to be a hero. That is nice to hear. He knew that his mother wanted him to be a hero ever since he found out that his grandfather was responsible for the massacre of Shibuya. Ever since then she wanted nothing more for him to be a hero so he could atone for the sins of their family name. You may ask, why don't they change their name, right? Well, they can't. The Hero Commission had permanently barred them from ever changing their name or ever leaving the country at all. They are forced to live with the name Geto forever until the day they die, a curse from them to us. Izuku, 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 and I are going in 10 months soon, so I need to train my quirk. 𝗵𝗃, you look tired, honey. Why don't you eat and go to bed after you are done showering, alright? Izuku, okay mother. The sound of dishes was heard in the background as Izuku took off his clothes and went into the barely warm shower. Nothing but the water that was dropping on his was heard as Izuku had just begun to question himself. Why is he even doing this? But why am I doing this? But why must you force yourself to please others? For what? Just for them to spit on your face and beat you? Why must you do this? They don't know the taste of what I must do for power. They don't know the taste of those. They taste like a rag used to wipe SHT and vomit. But for whom am I doing this for? It's been running through my head. What I saw of those people on ground, BLD all over their terrified faces, was not normal. I understand the ugliness of people. Don't waver from this path. We must be a hero with 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏. You must follow through with your duty. The duty we had since we were conceived. 𝗵𝗃, honey, you okay in there? You've been in there for an hour now. The water must be cold as ice by now. He suddenly felt the cool water flowing down his face and body. Izuku got out, wiped himself dry, and walked out to his small but comfy room with posters that 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 bought for his birthday. The night was quiet for him, though the only thing going off was his phone, with 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 texting him stuff about his family and the date of the UA entrance exam. 𝗂𝗏, 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏, hey, Izuku, you sleeping yet? Izuku, I was about to. Why? 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏, just going to tell you that we should train really hard. Izuku, good luck 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏. 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏, you too Izuku. You see then at UA. 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 went offline. Izuku went offline. The months went by. It was absorb, consume, over and over every single day. 5 months had passed since the day of graduation, the last day he ever saw 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 in person, only through video calls of when 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 would call to tell Izuku about his training and how he met All Might not too long ago. Absorb, consume, absorb, consume, absorb, consume, absorb, consume, absorb. That was all that was happening in those 5 months, over and over again, non-stop. The screams I heard over and over, pleas for help, as they were twisted into orbs which I had to then absorb. Nothing could mask the taste of it at all. Izuku walked aimlessly around the town, watching as people lived their lives while he lived with nothing but misery and loneliness. Ever since he and 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 graduated high school, his parents have not let him see Izuku at all. Even for 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏's birthday, they would not let him come in as they have before with a smile, but they looked at him like the other people on the streets have. He walked underneath the path he usually took with 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 when they walked to school when the sewer lid started to shake and a large dark green sludge seen Izuku walking through the tunnel and leaped his way toward him, engulfing the boy. Sludge. Hey, look at this, I caught a skin suit for me. Ha, that's right, don't fight me. His body had started to twist, making the sludge feel extreme pain from it, until it had started to twist faster, making the person feel scared. It wanted to get away from the boy, but he had stopped him from getting away from him, and he watched as Izuku stretched out where his palm was forming a black sphere. The sludge villain felt pain for the first time in his life. The feeling of dread washed over him as he thought of what he had done in the past, and now it was time for him to meet his end, and the boy was going to be the last person he would ever look at. Sludge, please, I'll do anything, just let me go, this hurts, please. He didn't get to say please at all and was already formed into a green orb, but before Izuku had the chance to eat his orb from the sewer lid, a buff blonde came out. And just from that he knew who it was. All Might had appeared out, saying the stuff he would normally say in the videos 𝗂𝗂𝗧𝗏 showed him. All Might, hello young citizen, would you be kind enough to tell me where this villain went? I am currently looking for him right now. Do you know if he came around here at all? All Might looked at Izuku, whose back was still turned from him, and slowly turned around to face All Might, smiling. Though when he did turn around, All Might got a good look at the person in front of him, and his eyes widened, remembering that day like it was yesterday. All Might, Suguru Geto. Izuku, sigh, I get that a lot, but you aren't exactly wrong. All Might, what do you mean? Izuku, he's my grandfather. All Might, Suguru Geto had a family. Izuku, There was an awkward silence between the two, and Izuku decided that he had enough of that and ate the orb, which got the attention of All Might seeing him eat something. All Might, what was that, young man? Izuku, nothing of your concern, All Might, so I bid my farewell, though I suggest going that way since that was the last time I seen that villain you were after. All Might, oh right, thank young. Izuku, Izuku Geto Midoriya. All Might, right then, by young Geto. Izuku watched as All Might leaped in the air holding the left of his stomach. It made Izuku curious. All Might, on the other hand, was baffled about the infamous Suguru Geto had a family that wasn't mentioned at all, but he knew why, probably because the family had nothing to do with his actions at all. He needed to tell the staff at UA when he gets the chance to drop in. A week went by from that interaction with the #1 hero. He knew just from the look on his face when looking at him, knew All Might was just like the rest of the people looking at him, like that he had begun finally hating anyone who looked at him with that face. His emotions had started to bug him the way he took all the looks, like nothing had started to bother him. That look, that face made him feel something he wanted to embrace for so long but kept down, though the people were now testing his patience. Right now the thread between him and others was slowly tearing apart ever so slightly. Just the sight of them made him want to vomit or use his quirk on them. Izuku looked at the back of the woman who just sneered at him. He didn't know his arm lifted, aiming at the lady walking away, talking at her phone, ready to use it on her. Akio, Izuku. Hey Izuku, look behind you. He turned around to see Akio smiling at him, out of breath, and finally caught his breathing. He hugged Izuku, who was dumbfounded that Akio was in front of him and talking to him. Akio, man, it's been forever since I have seen you. Izuku, hey Akio, what is going? Akio, I'm sorry man, my parents weren't letting me hang out with you because of dumb things people were saying about us, but I don't care man, I just wanted to see my friend. Izuku felt the thread he felt was about to snap start to tie itself, knowing that his friend would always care about him. He walked around with Akio talking about his training and how he went to the United States to visit his grandparents. Even though Izuku didn't talk, Akio knew that with him here Izuku would always cheer up no matter what. He knew that Izuku was close to snapping when he saw him raise his hand to that woman earlier. He was glad he made it in time to stop Izuku and just talked away, knowing Izuku liked it when he rambled on about his life and didn't pressure him to talk at all. He was really worried about his friend since the last time he seen him. Izuku was rather fit, but now he looked like he dropped a few pounds and his bags were now noticeable. Akio, hey, why don't we head to this new buffet I found with my family? It has your favorite katsudon. Izuku, I don't have money right now. Akio, oh don't give that nonsense. Izuku, we haven't seen each other in half a year, so it'll be my treat. Akio wrapped his arm around Izuku, leading him to the street of the buffet. There they both ate a lot, though he had to guilt Izuku into eating more than just one plate. Izuku watched as Akio ran to the train station and started to walk home when he heard a thud behind him. He looked behind to see a lady with purple and pink hair standing there, not moving and just looking at him. Are you Izuku Geto? He looked at her on edge from how she looked at him with a small glare and leaped back with his arm, reaching out to her, directing the energy toward her in case she moved an inch. The lady in question just looked at him curiously, looking him up and down. She seen how he looked like her except he had a light shade of green hair and his ears weren't pieced at all. She looked at how Izuku was tired and was getting skinny, tried to walk to him, but her face slowly started to twist and felt the extreme heat coming from her cheek, which was twisting even more the more she stepped towards him. She stopped, knowing that this wasn't her but just his grandchild, remembering that he had a family, and she got on her knees bowing to him. Izuku looked at the lady bowing to him in the middle of the street at night and was confused with what was happening right now. His connection to his power cut off when he knew she wasn't posing a threat to him at all. I'm sorry that I scared you, Sir Geto. Sir. Izuku, I think you got the wrong person, lady, and I'm too tired, so this bye. He said, exhausted, walking home in the direction of his house, and looked back since he was curious about the lady who was not there anymore, thinking that he was probably too tired right now. Walked off. Line break please, just let me go man, I'm sore. What did you do to him, you ba? Day after day it was following bad people that caused problems with people and absorbing them with people none the wiser of that they were missing, though he was glad the 𝗵𝗃𝗧 hasn't tried to investigate the prefecture at all and decided that he would just do everyone a favor since they were only bad people. In reality, the purple and pink-haired woman just took credit for the kills so that the new 𝗵𝗃𝗧 president wouldn't try to look into her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟's family. From what she saw him do was the same thing as her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟, but was different from how her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟 used his quirk on people. The people whom her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟 used his quirk on would usually be drained of the negative energy that her 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟 told her he did. The lady we see now is none other than the little teenage girl who grew up into a good-looking woman and was 𝗳𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗍𝗵. She still remembers the sacrifice he made for them just so they all could escape. He had finally hit the marker he wanted to reach with the newly named cursed energy of the small-time villains and 5 other people who had good quirks for him to use his quirk on. Izuku walked out of his house telling his mother that he was leaving to train and walked to where he wanted to go. It was around evening when he got there since he wanted to test out the newly found power that he discovered. So what did the boss say about wanting to meet here? What meeting? I was told to come here without question, asked by one of your guys. The F you mean I was told to come here because we need to help go around collecting. I ain't feeling too good about this, boy. Who the hell called us here then? Emerge from the darkness, blacker than darkness. Purify that which is impure. The room suddenly got dark, spooking everyone with how it got dark all of a sudden. Some looked at their phones but had no reception at all for them to call for help. They looked at the door opening to see someone walking in a coat covering their face when a black line above him opened. Then 4 creepy-looking things came out. One was a buff blue thing with a dog face. The one next to it was a grasshopper, along with one white dragon with yellow eyes floating above the warehouse and a dark purple slug that was on Izuku's shoulder. Who the hell are you? Izuku, no one that you should know, but today is going to be your last. Oh yeah. Do you really think you're going to win with your little creepy friends? They laughed, but when they were not paying attention to them, the grasshopper launched at one of the men sitting on a chair laughing, and with 2 punches the man's head was torn off from the force of the punches. The rest of the men looked at their dead friend on the ground headless and looked to Izuku, looking back at them with a small smile. The buff blue dog ran to the 4 other men, frozen in shock at what happened. They were all punched in the face, break them as soon as the punch had impacted them. Izuku watched as everyone in the warehouse fell to the cursed spirit he made from the criminals. Honestly, he didn't know why he started to do this and not feel anything for the people he turned into cursed spirits. He didn't feel guilty for them at all, but maybe it was because they were criminals who did acts that weren't justifiable. When they were all done killing everyone, Izuku called back his cursed spirits to him and they vanished into smoke, and he walked up to every weapon he could find to gather them up into a pile where the purple slug crawled off his shoulders, swallowing up all the weapons with no trouble at all, leaving only what he came here for in the first place was the money they had stolen. Izuku made his newly named inventory curse eat the money for later, and now that he was done, Izuku walked outside, walking into an alley when he turned around, seeing 𝗂𝗏 looking at him with amazement. 𝗂𝗏, what were those? Izuku, what are you talking about? 𝗂𝗏, you know what I'm talking about, those creepy things that came out of your body. Izuku, aren't you a pro hero? Shouldn't you try to arrest me? 𝗂𝗏, oh yeah, but I'll let you go if you tell what those things are. He sighed, walking away from 𝗂𝗏, looking at him confused, and Izuku waved his hand, ushering her to hurry up. He acts just like 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏, as they both walked away from the warehouse not talking and stopped to sit on a bench at a park. 𝗂𝗏, so are you going to tell me? Izuku, yes, sorry, those were what I call cursed spirits that I have collected over the years since I was just a child. 𝗂𝗏, since you were a child. Izuku, yes, but you don't need to know about my past, though you do seem to know who I am, so why don't you introduce yourself? 𝗂𝗏, yes, sorry Geto-chan. I'm 𝗂𝗏, 𝗂𝗏 Izuku, we don't know each other for you to be calling me Chan, so just Izuku will do. 𝗂𝗏, my bad for thinking that, but I have to go since I have to go look for the person who killed those guys at the warehouse. Bye for now, Izuku. Izuku just watched as she walked away but stopped and turned around to pull out something from her backpack. 𝗂𝗏, here is my gift to you from me, call it an early birthday gift. She handed him a 3-section staff with metal rings connecting its individual rods to each other. The tool surprised him with its design, and thanked her, walking away from 𝗂𝗏 and smiling at him. The day of the entrance exam for UA. Izuku took the train going to UA a little early just to make it on time to wait for Akio, who was rather late. He wasn't late before this worried him a bit, leaving him rather uncomfortable today, and had a bad feeling about something. Arriving at the gate of UA and walking into the place admiring how big it was, Izuku handed his ID card to Hound Dog. Seeing his name, he looked at Izuku with his eyes widened, knowing the name Geto anywhere. Izuku, I know what you're thinking, but I am not him. Hound Dog, sorry. Go right ahead and enter the door with the number 1 and good luck. Izuku, thanks. Without any delays, Izuku walked into the door, seeing many other people there to try and get into UA much like him. He was confused at first, looking for the place to take the exams, but he made it in the nick of time, seeing others inside talking to each other. The written exam was not that hard with its rather dumb questions. When he gave his sheet to 𝗳𝗃𝗧𝗵𝗲, Izuku walked outside to use a vending machine to eat, since the physical exam was going to start in 30 minutes. A bell chimed, just like 𝗳𝗃𝗧𝗵𝗲 said was a sign that the physical exam was going to begin at that moment. In the room was everyone who was in the written exam room, and he just ignored them all, going to his seat, still not seeing Akio at all. The only person he saw sitting down next to him was none other than 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗏, his lifetime tormentor. 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗃 just glared at him while taking a seat, and on cue, 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗏 walked into the room saying hello to them all and began explaining the rules about how the exam worked, until a boy with glasses spoke up about the mysterious robot that was on the piece of paper they were given. Even though 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗏 tried to explain it, the boy turned around glaring at him while pointing his finger at Izuku. And you, why do you look so disinterested? Do you even want to be a hero? If not, then just leave. Izuku was getting tired of everyone assuming stuff about his ideals and got up with an angry expression, giving the boy the same glare. A black line appeared behind Izuku's head and the rainbow dragon's head came out ready to attack him. 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗏, that's enough. Contestant number 1117 and number 6310, please turn off your quirk. The rainbow dragon went back into the hole and Izuku sat down with a calm face, still looking at the boy, bowing at 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗏, telling them not to do that again. After what had happened, people watched Izuku closely, analyzing his every move with caution while looking at him, shocked at how he looked like Suguru Geto. The bus ride took about 10 minutes to get to the place of the exam grounds to see it was a faux city, and he wondered how UA was able to buy this. All the constants were stretching and calming themselves down, breathing in and out to steady out their muscles, all but Izuku, who was just looked at the door waiting for the time to begin, and he saw 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗏 getting ready to say, "Start, 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗏. Good luck everyone, and remember the rules." The door opened, leaving the kids, who were confused until they saw Izuku on top of a stingray flying to the city and him taking out the inventory curse. It spit out the tool playful clouds for him to use and destroying the first robot with him, the first to start off with points. Izuku, for the first time in years, was having fun, going all out with his quirk, letting himself finally smile with a bright glint in his eyes. He was laughing with happiness, destroying robots with his cursed spirits he made, only forgetting how he had obtained them. The rainbow dragon came flying out of the black line, biting off the head of a three-pointer. He only wished that Akio was here with him. Akio was walking to UA with a bright smile, thinking about what his mentor had told him. It was 7 in the morning when he started walking to the train station so he could wait for Izuku at the gates of UA, and got on listening to his music, bopping his head while other people looked to outside, panicked, all but Akio, who was unaware that a giant person was falling toward the train. He heard screaming and took off his earbuds quickly, to only realize that it was too late. The person's large body crashed onto the train, causing the side he was in to derail and making everyone in it yell for help. Akio quickly braced for impact when the train hit the ground, and he looked to see a woman and a child, terrified. The heroes who were fighting the giant villain were horrified with what had happened and rushed to the derailed train to look for any survivors, to only see that one cart was filled with crushed people, and the other heroes ran to the next one to see most of the people were all over the place. They grabbed every person, carefully bringing them out to safety, where paramedics were called to assist anyone who was hurt. All of the people made it out when someone had told the heroes that 3 other people were in the back. Still, 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗏𝗧𝗏, the hero who came to assist them, ran inside the train looking for the people and ran at the back to see Akio and a woman along with her child crying for him to stay with them. 𝗵𝘃𝗃𝗏𝗧𝗏 saw the handlebars stabbing into Akio's chest and legs. Akio was bleeding badly, only smiling at the child to not make her scared anymore, with the woman begging him to stay alive. But Akio knew how bad the damage was at this point. If they pulled out any of the bars, they would cause his organs to rupture and kill him faster. Akio, 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, why you rip my necklace off? Okay. She reached for his necklace and ripped it off his neck. He told her to open it to see a boy with long dark green hair along with him standing next to each other smiling at the camera. Akio, that's my friend. Izuku Midoriya. See, can you see to it that he gets this back? Please don't talk like that. Please, you'll live to see him. Please let us just get that off and get you a shield. Akio, please. Get that to my friend, please. What's your name? Akio. Okay, Akio. She looked at him, chest slowing down, and he looked like he was accepting his fate with open arms, making the brown-haired lady cry, and the boy that had a hat with horns on it only looked at the boy, remembering his parents. Kamui Woods. Ma'am, we have to go and get you two checked out. I'll come back for the boy, hurry. The three of them made it out of the cart, and she saw Kamui Woods run back inside for the boy. She looked to see that Akio was carefully being carried to the paramedics, who grabbed him to put him on the stretcher and drove off quickly to try to save him. The lady looked at the necklace, crying at the picture of the boy, hoping he'd make it. Izuku was about 115 points in with him, also saving people who needed assistance, making the people in the dark room surprised by his actions, and seeing him carrying a boy with purple hair on his rainbow dragon in a dark room. People were watching the children in the exam in case anyone was cheating or breaking the rules, but half the time they watched Izuku since they all knew who he was related to, the name of who was responsible for the deaths of the people in Shibuya. They watched as he used his quirk to bring out cursed spirits that left the rat person on the chair intrigued them, and half of them looked at Izuku with hatred, though they did think rationally that Izuku Geto Midoriya was only the grandchild of the villain Suguru Geto that did the massacre and not Izuku, but only some thought of that, only thinking about their dead family when looking at him. Nizu, my, what an interesting quirk that young Midoriya has. Aizawa, yeah, though it seems he has the same quirk as him. Nizu, indeed he does, but remember everyone, this is only a child who is related to Suguru Geto. I don't want any trouble to be dealt to him, got it? Everyone, yes sir. Nizu, though we may need to watch him since we don't know what his intentions are, so Aizawa, I'll put him in your class since you seem to be the only one with common sense here when it comes to these situations. Aizawa, got it. Nizu, also I want to keep an extra eye on him so he will be barred from expulsion from you. Aizawa, is that really necessary? Nizu, yes, since it seems he has the will to be a hero. From what we are all seeing, I think we can try to prevent another Suguru Geto from rising again. Aizawa, alright, but that doesn't mean he can slack off. Nizu, Power Loader, I think it is time for the final part of the exam. Power Loader, yeah, I worked forever just to build this. He pressed the big red button on the table in front of them, and out in the field everyone watched as a big robot walked towards them, breaking everything in its path. They all looked at it, terrified by its size, making the buildings next to it crumble. Izuku on the other was calm on his stingray spirit, flying toward the place he needed to go, but as he was about to make it he heard a scream for help coming from a piece of rubble, and saw that a brown-haired girl trying to get it off her leg without knowing he was on the ground, running to her, commanding the rainbow dragon to break the rubble on her leg, and grabbed her while running away from the zero-pointer. Seeing that the zero-pointer was about to crush them, summoned his most recent cursed spirit from the bottom of the ground, making it shake, and from the ground came a large white worm with teeth launch in the air and dropped down, biting the head of the zero-pointer, with its body being crushed by its weight, destroying it. Everyone who ran looked at the sight, amazed that he had defeated the zero-pointer, and the teachers were dumbfounded that the grandchild of Suguru Geto had saved the girl from being crushed. The girl watched as Izuku saved her from the robot and bowed to him, thanking him a bunch, while Izuku just let her be. Thank you so much, you saved me from that big robot. Izuku, it was no trouble. What's your name? Izuku Midoriya. Izuku. My name is Ochako Uraraka, thank you again for saving me. Izuku, it was no probably Uraraka, but I have to go. Tell your mom I said hi. Ochako, okay. Wait, what? She didn't get a reply and watched as Izuku walked to the place to get ready to head back. The day went so well for Izuku. Getting 120 points was probably good to ensure him that he would get a place into UA for his mom. It was evening by the time he made it out of the school and suddenly thought of Akio. Where is Akio? He said that he would wait at the gate for me this morning, but he didn't show up. He thought as he walked out of the school gate, still thinking about the bad feeling he had this morning. As he was walking out, a woman who looked like she was crying came up to him, wiping tears away, with a little boy behind her legs sniffling while wiping his nose on his arm. Are you 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃 Izuku? Yes I am. Who are you? My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗍𝗍 and I came here to give you this. She walked up to him holding a familiar necklace and saw that it was Akio's birthday gift that Izuku got him for his 14th birthday. He opened it to see the photo of their high school grad photo, happily laughing and holding each other's shoulders. Izuku, where did you get this? Shino, Akio. Saving me. And my nephew. On the train this morning. Izuku felt the cold chills go up his body from hearing what Shino had just told him and looked at her in shock, not believing what she said. Izuku, why you're joking with me, right? She shook her head solemnly and felt pity for her savior's friend who looked familiar to her, but now wasn't the time to think about that, and she looked up to see Izuku looking down at the ground. His world felt numb right now. His only real friend was killed today without him even knowing it. While he was having fun destroying robots while Akio was suffering. But. Why Akio? Shino, are you going to be okay? Do you need a ride home? She didn't get an answer at all from him as he walked away from the gates with a blank face, holding the necklace tightly in his hands. She felt sad for the boy and wanted to help him, but she sadly couldn't, and watched as he disappeared in the crowded of other people walking home. Why did it have to be you, Akio? We were meant to be a duo. Akio, please don't let this be true, God, please. He didn't get far when a police officer walked to him, stopping him from going any further, and told him that they were going to drive him home since they had all seen how he looked. Shino asked them to get him safe, but he didn't say no, so they lead him to the police chaser and let him process the news that he had just got told. They led him inside his house while his mother Inko rushed to the door to see him. Izuku was being gently sat down on the ground of his front door, and the officers tipped their hats at them and walked out, shutting the door behind them to leave the two. Inko, baby, what happened? She didn't get an answer from him at all and saw the necklace he saved up for Akio. She grabbed him and led him to his room to sleep off whatever was happening to him. Izuku stared at the ceiling, thinking about all the times he had with Akio. Hey, I'm Aoki Akio. What's your name? Geto Izuku. Cool name. Geto, wanna go play at the park with me? Really? Yes, since we are friends now, right? The first time he met Akio was in second grade when he was left all by himself from the other kids, but Akio was the only person to talk to him and play with him. Izuku, check out this dirty magazine I got from my uncle. Akio, gross, put that away, we're going to get in trouble. But come on man, they got the kind of girls you like, man. Still, I don't want to get in trouble for looking at that stuff, my mom would kill me. Aw man, don't be such a spoiled sport, but alright, I'll go throw it away. The time when Akio brought a dirty magazine to school to show him it, even though he threw it away, we still got in trouble for it, and we were forced to clean the school toilets for 2 weeks. Happy birthday, Izuku, I got you this new gaming system so we can play it all weekend. Thank you, Akio, let's set it up right now before you have to go. He never stopped giving me expensive gifts for every holiday and birthday. He would go all out for me to the point I had to ask him to stop giving me expensive stuff, which he flat out denied, and bought me a phone. Akio, happy birthday, I got you this since it was the only thing I could afford. Aw sweet, a necklace, thank you man, and now I can put our grad photo here in a few months. Thanks man. Akio never really cared if I got him less expensive stuff at all, and he told me that he was grateful with the stuff I got him. Let's go to UA to become the best heroes, Izuku, and then we can make an agency together, man. Yeah, it is going to be fun with you, Akio. Izuku walked to the morgue this morning before going to school. Since he was accepted, but he didn't care, the death of his friend has left a gross feeling in his chest. He felt his world begin to crumble slowly without him here to assist. Izuku was so surreal to him, just the thought of him not being here at all felt fake until he asked to see his friend, and they led to a room with his body laying motionlessly on the cold hard table, his BLD soaked through the blanket, and there was still BLD on his face. He just looked at his dead friend, not moving and not excited to see him. He looked back to see his family walking and crying, and his dad just looked him up and down to see his face was miserable. The man walked up to Izuku, hugging him. Hiroshi, thank you for being his friend. Geto-san. And I'm sorry for acting like that to you, so please forgive me since that's what my dear son would have wanted me to do. Izuku, Mr. Aoki, you don't have to apologize to me. I know what my grandfather had done to your family. The loved ones you lost, so I'm sorry. Now, please Geto, no Izuku, please forgive us. Akio's family bowed to him, hoping he would forgive them, and so Izuku decided to forgive his friend's family. They hugged Izuku, wishing him good luck with school. He decided to walk to school and only looked at the sky hoping his friend was comfortable. Izuku looked at Akio's necklace with his BLD on it, and without knowing he made it to school late since it was 9:25, so Izuku walked to his class looking for class 1A, and he finally found it after a few minutes to hear people talking inside the classroom. Hello, I am 𝗳𝗏𝗃, and it is a pleasure to meet you all. Are you all done introducing each other? Excuse me, where is the other student? We got a call saying he had some personal issues right now and would be late today. Izuku slid the door open to see everyone looking at him confused about who he was and walked to his desk without telling them who he was. Excuse me, who are you? He looked back to see a girl with black onyx hair looking at him, hoping he would introduce himself to the class. Izuku, I'm Midoriya Izuku. He heard a sneer in front of him and saw it was Katsuki Bakugo staring at him with hatred. Izuku just ignored him like he usually does, but the raging bulldog had to open his loud mouth. Katsuki, aren't you forgetting your other name Deku? Like how you are related to that manic kill, Aizawa. That's quite enough, Bakugo. If you want to cause trouble, then I'll have you expelled right now, understand? He just grumbled at Aizawa, who stared at him with his hair floating and his eyes flashing red at the boy, making a cold chill go down his back. Izuku looked at the man with curiosity, wondering why he did that to Katsuki, but he couldn't care less about Katsuki right at the moment. Aizawa, alright, since the last student is here, we are going outside for a test now. Put these on and meet me out in the field for the test. Man, a test already, dude, this 𝗧𝗍𝗃. Izuku got up from his desk to get to the changing room first to change into the tracksuit Aizawa had given them all. He thought about leaving the necklace behind but took it with him for Akio. Standing at the field was Aizawa talking on a phone with someone and looked at Izuku, who had the same tired look as he did, but Aizawa looked at him more to see that he was more miserable than himself and felt an ounce of pity for him. Aizawa, nice of you to be the first one, Geto, or do you prefer Midoriya? Izuku, Midoriya. Aizawa, before the students come, I wanted to tell you that you are being watched by all of the teachers here and the principal has barred me from expelling you, but don't let that get to your head, Midoriya. He tells him that with a bored expression, but in Izuku's mind he felt anger that the heroes weren't so different from the people on the streets or stores telling him that he was being watched. He wanted to use his quirk on Aizawa badly, but the thought of Akio, who would be disappointed with him from walking down a different path, hurt his head. Izuku, sure, he said, walking away from Aizawa, going back to talking on his phone, and Izuku watched as the other people came walking to the field, talking to each about what they were going to do. He saw the brown-haired girl Ochako Uraraka looking around and locked eyes with him and walked to him with a smile. Ochako, hello. Izuku, mind if I stand here with you? Izuku, not at all. She looked at his face with a worried face for him and looked at his bags, which were now noticeable to anyone who looked at his face. Ochako, are you okay? Midoriya, your bags are really dark. Are you getting enough sleep? Izuku, no. Ochako, sorry if I'm being annoying, Midoriya. Izuku, you're not, it's alright. Ochako, that's a nice necklace, but is that blue? Aizawa, okay, so everyone is here today, right? We'll be doing a test since I want to see where you are all at quirk-wise. And to see if you have what it takes to be in my class. He pulled up the list of everybody in the class for everyone to see each other's names, and everyone looked at the photos to judge who was the weak link of the class and who was going to be the top dog of it. Two people thought they were already strong enough or even stronger than them all. It was the entrance exam list. They all looked, even though they all seen them expect the recommended students, and everyone saw that Izuku was in the first place with 220 points, which the ones who took the exam knew it was the secret hero points that some of them didn't even know about. Aizawa, alright, Midoriya, come here, since you got first place in the entrance exam, you'll be the one to start the test. Izuku walked to Aizawa, who handed him a ball and gave him a glare, making it known that he was watching him. The act made Izuku want to lash out, but he kept his breath right and walked to where he was told by Aizawa. Aizawa, okay, Midoriya, all you have to do is throw that ball as hard as you can without your quirk, and after I'll give you another so you can throw with quirk, got it? Izuku, yes sir. He pet his hand back, remembering how Akio taught him how to throw a ball, and hurled it as hard as he could, making it hit the going for about 110 meters without any cursed energy. Izuku was tossed another ball and was instructed to throw with all his power. Holding the ball in his hands, he thought of his best friend Akio, all the good memories, but it was hindered by that feeling again, the feeling of sadness and grief for him. the anger to the people who are nothing but wolves in sheep's clothing. He looked back at his new classmates feeling as if they were judging him based off his looks, just like everyone does no matter who they were. They don't know who I am. So why should I care what those inferior people think? Maybe I should just, 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏. Are you going to throw the ball or not, 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗏? Feeling the anger about everyone and the grief of his friend, a dark blue hue with jet black outlines surrounded the blue spiked energy from his hands. The cursed energy covered the ball, and Izuku ped his arm back, aiming to go farther than his last one, and threw the ball with it, making a mini wave of air to blow the other kids away. They were amazed by his power. All but two were amazed by it. The fact that Izuku did that set of Katsuki, making him march toward Izuku, who quietly walked next to Ochako, who was beaming to him about his power. Katsuki, where the hell was this power back then? 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Izuku, what are you talking about? Katsuki, you know what the hell I'm taking about, you dumb nerd. Katsuki knew that was all he was going to get from him and had the idea, since they let him get away with bullying at Aldria, it wouldn't be so different, so he lifted his hand with a manic smile while his hand popped dangerously. His hand made its way toward his face, ready to blow it off, but the explosion disappeared from his hand and was wrapped in a cloth which Katsuki was trying to get out of like a dog caught in rope, flailing like crazy, screaming about letting him go. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏. This is strike 2 Bakugu. If I need to give you another strike, you are going to be expelled from my class, you immature dog. Katsuki, the hell is this? Why is hard to get out of? 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, nothing you need to know about. I'm going to put you down now, but if you attack your classmate again, you are out of here. Now get back into line or else. Katsuki walked back into line, embarrassed by the fact that the teacher on the first day did this to him in front of everyone. He knew who to blame this one, and it was the only one he knew who to blame. The exam was alright though. To Izuku it was easy, since everyone in the class was either weak-willed to be heroes or just here to gain something, much like everyone else who was already heroes. Izuku walked by himself to class, seeing as Ochako was already talking to the girls of the class, which he really needed the quietness since everything was starting to get on nerves easily. He wished Akio was standing next to him right now, telling him about his day. He made it to the classroom to grab his belongings and walked out with everything. Nizu along with Hound Dog and Recovery Girl reviewed footage of Izuku in the test and were impressed. He got first place in all the tests but the ball test, though they were wondering why he wasn't using the cursed spirits at all in the test. The most concerning this thing about Izuku to them was his mental state as of right now. Since the day of the entrance exam, they had found out that his friend Aoki Akio had passed away from a villain. The signs were all there, his eye bags indicating that he probably wasn't getting enough sleep, with signs of him disassociating, and from the looks of it he had dropped a few more pounds from the last time. These signs had worried the three greatly, and they needed to prevent anything from happening more, or this will come to bite them in the future. Izuku made it home, finally coming back to reality, and opened the door to see his mother with a cake at the front door. "Inko, there is my little hero, come here." He walked to Inko, who pulled him into a warm hug. He melted into really enjoying that his mother was still here with him, and to keep him out of the darkness he was finding himself going towards. "Inko, how was school, honey?" "Izuku, it was good, mother. I got first place in all the tests but one." "Inko, oh, aren't you just a powerful hero? Why don't you set up the table so we can eat?" The two talked with him, also telling her about what had happened to Akio, who cried for him, and they finally went into their rooms wishing each other good night. Izuku laid in bed still thinking about school, though he didn't remember much but the tests. He couldn't remember anyone's faces or names. "I hope you are watching, Akio. I'll make you proud, my friend." Dead into the night, a group of people looked at the apartment in front of them, grinning and laughing. They all planned for something that was going to make the future change for the worst or for the best. So all we got to do is wait until that 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗟𝗘 kid goes away for a while, and then we'll do what we can here. That 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗟𝗘 will get what is coming to him. "Inko, have a good day, honey, I love you." Izuku walked out waving to his mom with a bandage on his cheek. He got this bandage from Katsuki when he and Uraraka were put up against him, though they were lucky to win. He knew Katsuki was livid with the fact he lost to him. He walked to Yue. Ever since Akio's death, he stopped taking trains altogether. He walked in to see Ida sitting on his desk writing on a piece of paper, but once he saw Izuku he nodded his head at him like he was approving of something he had done. Izuku sat at his desk looking off into nothing, remembering all the good times with his best friend. Life was not getting any better for the boy. He found out that Akio's parents and sister had died in a plane crash a couple of days ago when he watched the news. 𝗳𝗃𝗧𝗟𝗘's family name was mentioned, and the hope he was holding onto was slowly tearing apart as many of the people he considered family were all dying like flies. He wished that his mother would be safe from the cruel world. 𝗧𝗏𝗧, okay, I finished with the scores for your first class with all might, and I got to say with some of you it was okay, and I understand half of you with your problems with your quirks and abilities with hand-to-hand combat. But the other half I didn't understand anything. Because just from looking at you I know. You are better than what I saw. The class was quietly listening to 𝗧𝗏𝗧 tell everyone who he thought did badly or what he told them that they were holding back or not being better. 𝗧𝗏𝗧. And lastly 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. Where are those things you used during the entrance exam? You and 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 only won because of sheer luck and nothing else. It looked like you were holding back. Why? Izuku said nothing, like he didn't have a reason why he held back, and 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 took a closer look at his disheveled look. He knew that something was going on with Izuku. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏. Alright, if you have nothing to say, at least write me the reasons and give it to me tomorrow morning. With that out of the way, we are going on a field trip, so get your costumes ready and meet me outside. Everyone was outside in their costumes waiting for 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 to meet them and saw him next to 𝗧𝗏, who was going with them. Iida, alright. Everyone get into a single file line and be ready to depart. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, settle down Iida, this bus isn't like the buses you are used to, so just get in now. They got inside the bus and sat down to talk to each other. Izuku looked at the ground, not bothering to talk to anyone, not even 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏, who was trying to converse with him. It was until 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 told him to answer 𝗬𝗏, who was asking about his quirk. 𝗬𝗏, say, 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏, what does your quirk? 𝗧𝗏𝗏, she asked you a question 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. At least you could do is tell her. Izuku, my quirk is called cursed manipulation. I didn't name it that. The doctors did, and what it does is that I can use it to give me a boost in strength and speed. And I can summon my cursed spirits, but they are too strong to be let out. I had an accident with them a week ago, so that is why. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏, you know 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏. You remind me of something we learned back in middle school. Izuku, and what would that be? 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏, are you related to Suguru Geto? Izuku, yes, he is my grandfather. The people on the bus were shocked, since all of their parents had told them all about the horrors that occurred many years ago in Shibuya. They looked at Izuku with like the many faces he saw in the streets. The look made him angry, but like he had been doing since Akio's death, was hide his emotions from anyone who he doesn't trust. Kirishima, dude. My mom said she lost a sister because of your grandfather. Denki, my dad lost his parents from that guy too. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, anyone who says anything else about the matter will be expelled, do you hear me? Mina, but his grandfather is a kill. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, enough. 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏𝗏 isn't his grandfather, you have to think about that before you start saying anything. If he was like his grandfather, why would he be here trying to be a hero and not out there killing? Think before you open your mouth with such nonsense. What you're doing is bullying without even knowing you were, plus being quirked, and I myself have gone through that and don't intend for my students to be bullies, you hear me? They all felt his voice was tense, like he wanted to yell at them, and they knew it. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 kept his composure with them and kept in mind to give them all a lesson about this matter. The bus pulled into the place of the trip and they looked amazed at the size of the dome. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 let out a squeal like a child seeing presents under the tree, but it was because the space hero 13 was waving at them and walking to them. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, where's All Might at? 13 then put up 3 fingers, and he knew from the sign All Might was resting for the day. He was set off at the blonde bouffon. 13 knew he was said and walked to the students. 13, hello students of UA, and welcome to the USJ that was constructed by us for the school to train in many different conditions. Here you'll be doing that today for your training, and Mr. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 and I will be conducting, so please follow me inside. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 looked at his students close to each other, trying to stay away from Izuku, who was not fazed by their actions. That was another he would take to the rat, but now was not the time to think about that, since they were walking in while 13 was telling them all about the different environments and what they would be doing. Kirishima looked at the bottom of the stairs to see a purple portal open up and wondered if it was already time for training. Kirishima, you guys even have fake villains, sweet, no wonder you're the #1 hero school in Japan. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, what are you talking about, fake villains? He looked down to see many other people come out of the portal and looked back to 13 to notify her what was going on. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, 13, get the kids back now and go for back while I distract these guys. 13, got it. Come on students, this is not a drill, follow me now. Momo, What about Mr. Aizawa? 13. He can handle himself, let's get going now all of yo. I don't think so. You all will be staying here. 13. Who are you? We are the League of Villains, but for now, I need you all to go away. Katsuki, got you 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗟𝗘. Both Kirishima and Katsuki were close to capturing the mist, but a portal opened up in front of them, making 13 worried for them. 13. What did you do to this, boys? Tell me now. Don't worry, they are not hurt yet, for now at least. 13 then tried to use her quirk on him, though yet again the mist guy countered her black hole and 𝗬𝗠𝗍𝗔 to rip the back of their suit. The students watched 13 fall down on the ground bleeding and were about to check on them, but then the mist guy made half of them fall down into a portal while some were left behind. Izuku was falling into the flaming city, along with seeing many other people were waiting for him at the ground. A black line appeared behind him as his stingray flew out, catching him and glided down to the ground, making the people look at him landing. Villain, look, it's one of those hero students. Villain 2, that Shigaraki guy told us we can kill them, right? Villain, yeah, and I intend to kill this brat. It seems that we are getting attacked and are being hunted. Izuku, I'm willing to let you all walk out of here alive. With no harm done to you, but you don't, then I'll have to hurt you. Villain, you hear that? Haha, this little twig says he can hurt us, you hear this, kid? Ha. Villain 2, let's end this. I want to find more of the hero students and kill them so we can get more money from that crust guy. Ha. Villain, you got that right. His face twisted quickly as he started to feel the pain in his body slowly begin to condense into cursed energy, and his mind began to rip apart, feeling all of his strength begin to fade away. Izuku looked at the man with indifference, not caring whatsoever. As he was screaming for mercy, the orb flew to Izuku, standing in front of the man, looking in shock at what happened, and seeing Izuku swallow the orb. The man now realized who he messed with, finally seeing the face of the man who killed his parents. Villain 2, why you're Suguru Geto. Aren't you? Please. Spare me. Please. Izuku, I gave you a chance to leave but you didn't. So own up like a true villain. Villain 2, please let me live. He did not get another chance as his head was caved in by his cursed spirit named Ronald. It was the first cursed spirit he had taken at a young age. His childhood dog he used to feed was now his weapon to use against the villains. Aizawa was beating every villain he saw and broke the bones of the villains attacking his students. He had finished beating all the villains who tried to kill him, but the last one who just stood there watching him when his hair fell down, and that was when he heard the light blue-haired man count to 30 and rush at him, intending to kill him with one blow. He blocks the man's advance toward him with his scarf, constricting his movements from moving any further to him, but it is to no use as it started to grumble when he touches it with his hands, and his elbows stung as it too begins to crumble. You are cool, you know that, Eraserhead. Aizawa, who the hell are you all to just come and attack my students and me? We heard from the news that All Might is teaching here at UA. Of course. I knew it was only a matter of time before the villains got bold enough to do this. Even if you lose a couple of kids, it only matters that their deaths mean making All Might get here fast or just ruin his pride. Aizawa, not on my watch. He kneed the man's stomach and backed away, only focusing on him. His injuries can be dealt with when he got them all out of there. Aizawa tried to rush the man and was close to capturing him again, but all it took for some words to be said when a bird beast thing rushed at Aizawa, grabbing a hold of him, pinning his head down to the ground and crushing his body as it snapped his left him like it was nothing to it. Say hello to the anti-symbol of peace called the 𝗏𝗏. It looked at Aizawa as the man laughed at the pitiful state of the pro-hero. He crumbled, knowing it was taking a long for All Might to show himself. Uraraka, Ida, you have to go and get help or we are all going to die. Ida, but as the vice president I can't leave you all. Ojiro, at this rate Ida will all die. Would you rather have us die or help us? You all shouldn't be discussing your plans when a villain that is going to kill you is in front of you. Ida, but I can't leave you. Uraraka, we'll be fine. Ida, you're the fastest out of all of us. He looked at the two worried for all his classmates and looked at the door behind the mist man. He bolted for the door, yelling that he would be back for them, but the mist didn't try to intervene with him, and Uraraka touched his neck, revealing that a metal piece was there. Ojiro kicked its brass, launching him away from Ida, who made it out and ran without looking back, only promising in his mind that he was going to save them all from this disaster. You vile heroes, you'll pay with your life. The blue-haired man was going to kill Aizawa until a mist portal opened up next to him and the man bowed to him. "I am sorry. Mstr Shigaraki, one student escaped. Shigaraki, DMN if you weren't ticket out of here 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏. I would kill you right now. It looks like we are going to have to leave now. But not before leaving a couple of gifts for All Might to see when he gets here last minute." Tsuyu and Jiro watched the scene unfold. Shigaraki was in front of Tsuyu's face in a flash, reaching to touch her face. He was an inch away from dusting here when a blue hand punched his face, blowing him away next to 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏, and the Nomu. Everyone at the scene looked at a blue dog with a large body like All Might himself, but his face was only just a cute dog with its tongue sticking out, looking around clueless. Izuku walked behind the dog, patting his arm to give him affectionate light. "Izuku, good boy. Take care of that bird Ronald." "Ronald, bark!" Ronald blitzed to the Nomu, punching its face and breaking its beak, shocking the two villains at its speed and power that rivaled their beast. Aizawa weakly watched as his student's Quirk was defending them all. "Shigaraki, who the hell is that dog?" 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 looked at Izuku, realizing knowing that it was over for them if they didn't leave at once. Meanwhile, Shigaraki was said that this so-called NPC was getting in the way, not knowing who he was messing with. "𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏, we must leave Mstr Shigaraki." "Shigaraki, shut up 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 now." He did what he was told by his Mstr and looked at Izuku, remembering what his other Mstr told him. "If you ever run into that man or any one of his children, you best run 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏." The Nomu and Ronald were punching each other to match one another's speed and power, blowing off chunks of each other's body and healing quickly as the punch came. Izuku watched, not bothered, like he wasn't worried his spirit was going to lose. The doors blew open as All Might stood there, not smiling, seeing as his students were attacked as he was relaxing for the day. He looked over to some thugs trying to attack Denki and 𝗧𝗏, who were injured. All Might ran at every villain he saw, knocking them out with such speed amazing. Even the villains he attacked, Ronald was punching the Nomu, overpowering. It was close to losing to Ronald. That was until All Might punched Ronald, causing him to whine on the ground and lick his knuckles. He ran back to Izuku, standing still, annoyed that Ronald was about to win. All Might stood next to the Nomu, wondering if he was a friend, and helped him up, not knowing that it was a part of the villains. "All Might, up you get, sir. Thank you for holding off, so just stand aside while I handle that beast by myself." "Is he for real?" Izuku thought when he was about to say something. All Might punched Ronald in the face, causing the poor dog to cry for Izuku, wondering why he was being attacked. All Might then threw punches to Ronald's ribs, making them break upon impact. It made everyone cringe at the sound of them breaking, and Ronald bared his teeth, ready to attack All Might if he came any closer. Izuku knew that Ronald was getting close to using his technique. If more of this was to continue, Ronald caught All Might's fist, growling at him, and punched All Might's weak side of his body, making him spit out blood. 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 looked at the two fighting, wondering why All Might would fight a buff dog rather than a literal bird with its brain exposed, but it was to their advantage, seeing that both of them fighting. Shigaraki, join the fight. Nomu, it looks like All Might is attacking that dog who attacked us first. The Nomu ran at the two, punching All Might in the face, and Ronald, who acted quicker, dodged the Nomu's fist with ease and stood next to Izuku. "Izuku, All Might, attack that thing instead of my spirit. That one was attacking us, you buffon." All Might looked back at Izuku, wondering if it was true, and felt bad that he attacked without knowing who attacked first. He then looked to the Nomu coming back for another round and got ready for it to come. Nomu then ran to All Might, about to punch him, but was dodged by him, countering his fist with a hit that stunned him. Shigaraki scratched his neck, watching his Nomu fighting the #1 hero, making him smile that this was happening. Izuku looked annoyed that All Might attacked Ronald first, and not the Nomu, pissing him off more than he came here. He looked behind to see the rest of the students watching the fight, hoping All Might would win. "Shigaraki, you are a fool if you think that will work on my Nomu. All Might, my Nomu has 3 quirks. He had shock absorption, super strength, and super regeneration. All Might, shock absorption. Well, if that's the case, then he could have a couple of punches at full power, right?" Moving the fastest he could go, he punched the Nomu on the chest to test the absorption, and knew that he needed to finish this now since it was almost his time. All Might had heard one of the students running away from villains, only to see it was Mineta. He then made the rash decision to save Mineta from the villains, but at a cost. He was hit by the Nomu, launching him to the trees. Izuku groaned at the mindset of the pro hero and sent Ronald to cover for him. The fight between the two beasts commenced once again, and the two fought, pushing the fight further until All Might had recovered once again, joining the fight the 𝗵𝗃 with Ronald. All Might tightened his, pulling all his power to his fist, finally punching the 𝗵𝗃 in the face. One for all. Taxes smash 100%. The fight ended with All Might launching the 𝗵𝗃 through the roof, and as they were about to attack All Might, who was exhausted by the fight, the heroes came at the right time to make the two main villains retreat. Ida, Class 1AI have returned with the heroes. Ectoplasm made clones that rushed the thugs trying to run away from them. Midnight took out a group of the villains attacking, and the rest went to look for any more still roaming around the USJ. As they were done, all the teachers checked on the students looking for any major injuries. Everyone looked around to see Izuku was next to Ronald, who was next to him, guarding him from them. Ronald growled at them all to keep them away. Izuku looking into nothing with a blank face. But they don't care about me. Why should I have helped them? My classmates looked at me like they were suspicious of me since they found out who my grandfather was. What was my reason to help them? Those ungrateful swine. I thought, should just key. Nizu, young Midoriya, can we have a word with you? Izuku looked at the UA stuff, not knowing why they were wanting to talk to him at all, knowing he was innocent. He was not going to talk to them if they were trying to accuse him of planning this just because he was related to Suguru Geto. Ronald, growl, bark, present mic. Holy hell, he has such big muscles but a cute face. Izuku, what do you need from me? Not expression, any emotions to them had greatly disturbed them all, and felt bad that they had to do this. Nizu, well, this attack, you see. The other students say that this person had attacked All Might, is that true? Izuku, it was because of All Might's way of thinking everything is a villain. He attacked Ronald first before trying to know what was my intentions to command him. All he was trying to do was protect everyone. Nizu, I see then. Izuku, you're only doing this because you don't trust me, right? A pang of guilt coursed through them since he found them out and knew that they suspected him of planning this all. Izuku, judging from your silence, I'll take that as my answer. I will be taking my leave now. Izuku summoned Ronald back and walked away from the heroes. He looked down, not bothering to move out of anyone's way, causing people to get mad at him, though he just didn't care. All he needed was to get home to his mom. She was the only light in the world he had left for him, not to go down that path his grandfather chose. Walking to his apartment, he began to feel dreadful. The walk felt like he was walking on empty Everest without any gear. His steps felt heavy making his way up. Izuku stood still, watching as his key went in only for it to open by itself. The hinges were broken. The smell of BLD hit his nose. The smell was so heavy it made him almost pass out. He didn't want for something bad to happen at all. He was hoping his mom was playing a sick joke on him, right? The wooden floor creaked as he walked to the door leading to the living room. Creaking was heard behind the door. He slowly opened the door. On the floor was BLD everywhere. A kitchen knife on the ground. He kept his head looking at the ground. When he walked further, he stopped to see his mom's slippers on her feet dangling. With shaky breathing, Izuku looked up to see his mom was hung on the roof. Nails were drilled into the rope to keep her from falling. Her fingernails were all bloody, a sign of trying to escape from being hung. His mother's cold, lifeless eyes stared at him. Her eyes bore into his soul. Her face had dried up on her face. And one last thing on her was a note that was stabbed into her chest saying, "This is what you get, you murderers. Die in hell." Izuku stared at the note for what seemed like hours. His mother's eyes stared at him like she was judging him. His screams could not escape his throat. All that was happening. He was crying while on the ground trying to get up. But, please, Mama, don't leave me here with them. Please, Mama. 1 week later, Aizawa was fully healed and came straight back to teaching when his treatment was done by the old lady herself. One thing was odd about his class was the empty seat that Midoriya sat at. This had worried him since the last time he saw him was at the USJ. Still no signs of Midoriya showing up at all. He wanted to go over to his house to see him, but something stopped him from going. 2 weeks later. Still, no Midoriya. His seat sat empty. He desperately wanted to go over to the Midoriyas to check on them. Once again something stopped him from going. It was getting annoying. This was his student. Who cared if he was related to a villain? It was still his student and he was going to take care of them all. 3 weeks later. Midoriya's seat was no longer empty. but not with him. It was a new student who was brought here by All Might. A girl named Melissa Shield. Still no Midoriya. Aizawa, okay. Class tomorrow is the sports festival, so be ready to win this either for yourself or for something, I guess. Make sure to be ready and get here on time. Class dismissed. Aizawa walked to the teacher's lounge to grade his class work and still thought about Midoriya. He heard from Nizu that he walked away from them at the USJ when he was being questioned for something he didn't do. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the sports festival. The two events were won by his new student Melissa, and now it was the last battle with Katsuki Bakugo and Shoto Todoroki. The fight was wild for the both of them. But Shoto still refused to use his fight, which had led him to his downfall, making Katsuki the winner of the sports festival. Midnight. Before we end this year's sports festival, we have none other than the #1 hero here to give out the medals to. Everyone, All Might. All Might. Hi, hello everyone, it is I, All Might, here to give the medals to the 3 bravest students of Oyus. All Might walked to Tokoyami in 3rd place and slung the medal over his head. All Might, young Tokoyami, you did great today. Just one piece of advice: try not to depend on your quirk, since it will lead to your downfall in the future, just in case any villains figure out your weakness, but you did great, so take 3rd place with pride. Tokoyami, thank you All Might. Your words humble me. All Might put the 2nd place medal on Shoto, who looked at All Might with a serious look. All Might, 2nd place, that is nice young Todoroki. Hadi, your dad is real mad, huh? Whisper, try to use your fire young Todoroki. You never know when someone needs your help in the future. It's your quirk, not anyone else's. Ha, anyway young Todoroki, you did good this year, ha, hope to see you shine next year. The last one was Katsuki, who was beyond set off that Shoto was holding back Aga and him. It hurt his pride and ego. All Might, young Bakugo, haha, congrats at getting 1st place, you are truly amazing, ha, you did your best and hope to see in the future that you will become a great hero young man. Katsuki, I don't care about your little speech. All Might, make icy hot, fight me again with his fire, this is not a normal win, god damn it, fight him. The medal was stuffed into his mouth and All Might began talking to the people in the stands, cheering for him and chanting his name like a god. Until everyone looked in the air to see something flying into the arena. It was a bird with a long beak that opened. A hand came out of it to reveal Izuku in clothing that reminded people of that day. Izuku, ah, All Might, what a pleasure to see you here. All Might, young Midoriya. What are you wearing? Izuku, oh, these little thing, don't mind them, hee, just taking after my grandfather after all, hee. Izuku swiped his hands as a cursed spirit took the microphone from Midnight and handed it to him, smiling at everyone, not moving at all. Izuku, hello people of Japan. Did you have a great time cheering for my classmates? Hee, I think you all did. Anyway, I came here to tell you all something, and I think you all would like to hear about this. Izuku stopped smiling, getting ready to do what he must. Pretend it's just him. Izuku, in a couple of months I plan to do something much like my grandfather, hee, and it will be a surprise like last time. I call it the Night Parade of 100 Demon. And in this parade I will be unleashing thousands of cursed spirits upon Tokoyo. And Shinjuku, you will all find out sooner or later when it will happen, so best of luck to you all until that day, hee. All Might, young Midoriya. WB can work this out. Please don't do this. Why are you doing this? Izuku stopped smiling once again at this statement, feeling all the hatred he had toward them all for someone he wasn't. They all shunned him for it just cause they all are scared of him. Izuku, you all got what you wanted. You all drove me to take this path. My friend and mom had to pay the price for it. You all wanted it, then you all will have you. I hate monkeys. And you all be taking responsibility for your actions. That's the true feeling. I chose monkeys. The whole stadium were shocked at the declaration of war that was being told by the grandson of Suguru Geto. Nizu thought he was doing the right thing by not preventing another uprising of that man. Well, he didn't try hard enough. Aizawa looked at his former student in shock, finally seeing him after 3 weeks. All Might, then I have no choice but to bring you in young Midoriya. Izuku, about that you'll need to take care of those up there. All Might, he said while cursed spirits were attacking people on the stands, screaming for help, and rushed to help them out. Izuku made his escape, looking down at everyone there. Finally he was free, and it felt Good black and blonde-haired women stared at the screen with a shock expressions. Two other got up from their seats to meet with everyone else. Finally a woman cried looking at the TV screen whispering 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗟 over and over while holding a lock of hair in her hands. 3 weeks earlier Izuku sat on his knees looking at his mom's dead body hanging from the bloody rope. He sat for seconds, leading to hours. Hours went from a day to days that turned into a week of staring at his mom's lifeless body. The door of his house opened for a lady to walk inside, covering her nose in disgust when she walked in the living room to see Inko and Izuku there. The screams of the woman made Izuku leave his trance to turn his head toward her slowly. Izuku. Is that why? Izuku, hey. Mrs. Hori. He said in a lifeless tone making her shiver. Hori couldn't speak as she looked at Inko's body and back to Izuku. The boy could only stare back at her while watching her every movement like a hawk. Hori. W should call the police. Izuku. Your mother W was killed. She hurriedly walked to the phone mounted on the wall and dialed the police station. The call didn't take long as she felt a hand on her shoulder. Izuku, that shouldn't be necessary, Mrs. Hori. She spun around to look at Izuku but was grabbed by the face from Ronald holding her head with his large hands. Ronald crushed her head swiftly making BLD go all over his hand. Izuku looked blankly at the BLD and walked to the front door where Mr. Hori walked out of his apartment to see Izuku all bloody. Mr. Hori, Izuku. He was crushed underneath Ronald's fist and they both walked down the stairs with other people having a dinner and having fun. A kid spotted Izuku and Ronald making their way to them all. The parents of the kid looked where they pointed to see them too and ran to their kids to get them out of there. Ronald killed the other people trying to stop him from going any further as Izuku made his way. A little girl got in front of them both and tearfully told them to stop. Little girl, stop. Izuku, move. Ronald, woof little girl. No, I will stop you. Izuku, all right. Stop this then. Ronald's fist raised into the air ready to kill the girl and his fist came flying to the little girl closing her eyes waiting for it to come but the sound of a gun was heard from the roof. A bullet that looked weird with pink and purple color on it had a speaker on it. Stop, Mr. Geto. Izuku looked at the roof to see Lady Nagant there still aiming her rifle arm at him. Ronald covered Izuku from the danger that Lady Nagant posed to him, and she quickly retracted her rifle while jumping off the roof and standing in front of them both. Lady Nagant, what are you doing? Swiping his hand to the left, Ronald ran at her in such speed not even she could tell when the beast took off in front of her. His fist came crashing into her stomach causing her to fly back into the wall in pain spitting out BLD. Ronald didn't give her a chance at all punching her against into the wall making the apartment shake from his raw strength. Lady Nagant couldn't get up from the pain. She lifted her barrel at Ronald looking at it confused at what she was doing. The rifle shot him in the face killing Ronald where he stood. Purple BLD came gushing out everywhere. Ronald fell on the ground dead. Izuku just stood there not even bothered that he had died from a single bullet. Lady Nagant was getting up from the ground wiping the BLD off her face and looking down at Ronald dead. She looked back at Izuku looking back at her with indifference. A black line appeared behind him with the rainbow dragon coming out with many more cursed spirits coming out. Izuku stared at nothing only thinking back at the moments with his mom. His one and only friend in the whole world. The both of them gone from this world. And him. All alone. Words came flying into his mind remembering them from hearing them every day. No matter what anyone says. I will always hate you monkeys. Flashes of Inko and Akio flooded his mind, remembering every word they had ever said to him. The stuff they did together. Now all gone in an instant, he was alone in this world full of monkeys. Lady Nagant watched as the cursed spirits came spilling out ready to kill everyone on sight just from the thoughts they were hearing from their Ronald's headless body came up from the ground where his head grew back slowly and growled at Lady Nagant backing away from the horde. These people. They are nothing but vermin. I should have killed them when I had the chance. Who are they to say who I am? Well fine. If they want to say I'm a villain, so be it. They'll get what they so hoped for. Demon monkeys. A man with black hair ran on the roofs of the houses to see the rainbow dragon flying in the air ready to attack Lady Nagant, trying her best to kill the other cursed spirits trying to kill her. A rope caught the arm of the spirit close to her and came down onto the ground landing on the unlucky spirit screaming in pain. He launched his rope strangling the spirits near him and cutting off their head with a pole. Izuku stood there not moving as he thought about his family. Lady 𝗵𝗃, glad you could make it 𝗬𝗏. 𝗬𝗏, it is nice to see you. 𝗧𝗵𝗵, when you said something about 𝗬𝗏𝗃𝗧𝗟𝗏's grandchild I had to come and check it out. Izuku, more Well, I guess I'll just kill you two now then. Ronald rushed in once again but was blocked by 𝗬𝗏 using his quirk to stop the punches with rock arms. Lady 𝗵𝗃 was trying to knock out Izuku since seeing he wasn't in the right mind to talk about anything. The rainbow dragon flew to the ground hitting 𝗬𝗏 though he had seen it coming and jumped on the back of it hitting its back with his sharp tip of the WHP. Rainbow Dragon wasn't affected at all as his scales were like trying to break a diamond with a stick. Izuku began to feel lightheaded and dizzy from all the stress that was on him along with not eating and sleeping. The fatigue was getting to him as he was using more of his cursed spirits to try and kill both the people trying to stop him. Lady 𝗵𝗃 saw Izuku walking away wobbling his way from the fight. She killed the two spirits in front of her swiftly with a knife and ran to Izuku not knowing she was anywhere close to him. He turned around to see her and tried to use another cursed spirit he was saving but she had already hit his temple causing him to fall over and get knocked out. The cursed spirits all disappeared in front of them. 𝗬𝗏 jumped down next to Lady 𝗵𝗃 carrying the knocked out Izuku on her shoulder. 𝗬𝗏, so that is 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗏's grandchild. Man, he looks exactly like him but with green tinted hair. Lady 𝗵𝗃, he does but now is not the time. Check his house up there for anything to tell us why he was doing all of this. 𝗬𝗏, alright, go to this place, it's where I've hiding out all this time. Lady 𝗵𝗃, meet you there 𝗬𝗏. He watched Lady 𝗵𝗃 jump onto the roofs so that no one would see her taking off with him on her shoulders. 𝗬𝗏 walked up the stairs finding the remains of Mr. Hori on the ground, and walked further into the apartment seeing more BLD all over the place. 𝗬𝗏 looked to see 𝗵𝗃𝗏's body still hanging and Mrs. Hori's headless body. He grimaced at the sight knowing this was his 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗏's daughter dead right in front of him. With a sigh 𝗬𝗏 walked out without disturbing anything so that the heroes don't know he was there at all. Lady 𝗵𝗃 placed Izuku down on the couch and looked at him closely to see that he had lost more pounds the last time she saw him last time. The door opened with 𝗬𝗏 looking at her still grimacing at her. 𝗬𝗏, I saw why he must have gone on a rampage and I got to tell you 𝗧𝗵𝗵. It is not good. Lady 𝗵𝗃, just tell me so I know. 𝗬𝗏, someone killed 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗏's daughter or rather, his mom. He said pointing at Izuku unconscious on the couch. 4 weeks later after his announcement Izuku looked over at Shinjuku with a smile at the scene of people innocently walking around not knowing what was to become of him after tomorrow. He turned around to see Kurogiri standing behind him with Shigaraki and 𝗬𝗏𝗍 beside the warp gate user. Izuku, so what do I owe the pleasure of meeting you all here? Kurogiri, yes Geto-san, we have come here to ask if you would like to join our group. Izuku, ah yes, the League of Villains, if I remember the last time we had seen each other back at the USJ. Kurogiri, that is the name 𝗵𝗃𝗲𝗏 or Shigaraki named it but we would like to know if you would join us. Izuku, you must think I'm a fool, all for one only wants me so he can take my quirk, am I right? Kurogiri looked at the boy in shock that he of all people would know who his 𝗬𝗏. Shigaraki seethed at Izuku wanting to kill him then and there seeing as he just stood there with no one guarding him at all. Kurogiri, how do you know the name of my 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏? Izuku, I've heard that he was after my grandfather's quirk a long time ago, so I know he would only want me to meet him so he could take my quirk but no, seeing as I know this you all won't let me leave alive would you now? Shigaraki, I'm still injured from that 𝗬𝗧𝗟𝗘 stain. 𝗬𝗏𝗍 get rid of him. 𝗬𝗏𝗍, no hard feelings kid, got to do what the boss tells me. His inventory curse came out of the black hole spitting out the playful cloud. 𝗬𝗏𝗍 launched a ball of blue flame toward him but Izuku strengthened his whole body with cursed energy to use the playful cloud to disperse the flame much to the shock of 𝗬𝗏𝗍 who couldn't believe someone had done that in his shock. A black mutated Nomu came out of nowhere punching him square in the face causing him to fly back crashing into the ventilation on the roof. Izuku walked to 𝗬𝗏𝗍 on the ground bleeding and lifted his hand toward the knocked out man. His face twisted into the orb. Kurogiri couldn't get near him to save 𝗬𝗏𝗍 as he knew it was a trap for him. Izuku looked back at them both smirking at them. Izuku, so are you two going to come at me now? He waved the orb at them to taunt them both. Shigaraki couldn't hold his anger any longer and rushed to Izuku before he was swept up into the warp gate. Kurogiri, my 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗏 will hear of this. Izuku, don't worry, I'll come find him soon. Izuku watched as they got away from him and smirked at the orb right before swallowing it to make him a part of his spirit collection. The sky turned dark as the sun made its way for the moon. It was now time for the night parade to begin. People walked around Tokyo and Shinjuku, some talking to each other as many were out drinking the night away to have a fun time and unwind from the stress of work. Students from schools having outings with their classmates to meet and get to know one another. Couples going out for dates. The moon shined above them all. When a dark shadow covered the moon's light, people began to look up and curious to what was above them. Floating something jumped from the mysterious thing in the sky until it landed on the ground near the couple, walking away from it not knowing what it was. The figure lifted its head for them to see, a creature with large sharp teeth and mantis-like arms with blades protruding from its back. The couple screamed in horror, but it was too late as their heads were cut off the moment they moved. The noise made other people look at the dead couple, and everyone near the creature screamed, running for their lives as other creatures came jumping off the large thing above them. Bodies dropped to the ground lifeless and faces filled with horror. Other cursed spirits soon filled the streets as heroes came to save the people from the threat. Much to the shock of the heroes, they watched as the cursed spirits ate the corpses off the ground, and some looked like they were mocking them for their failure of showing up on time. They rushed to the cursed spirit, yelling in anger, seeing them kill with no mercy whatsoever. Shinjuku was the same, with the heroes being outmatched by many other cursed spirits, ruthlessly killing them all with ease. Izuku walked into UA, killing the guards protecting it from threats much like himself, but he knew the rat would do something like this since he had declared war on them all at the sports festival. Walking further inside the campus, Izuku heard footsteps making their way to him. 𝗵𝘃𝗄𝗏, 13, Aizawa, and Midnight stopped near the entrance of the doors going inside UA. Midnight, you know, you aren't supposed to be here, right? Izuku, oh, I'm fully aware, Ms. Midnight. 𝗵𝘃𝗄𝗏, then you know you have to leave. Izuku, but I'm a student here, aren't I? 13, you are no longer a student here. Izuku, that breaks my heart knowing I saved you at the USJ. 13. Aizawa, that's enough, why are you here? Midoriya. He looked up and down at Izuku. The sight of him made his chest feel heavy, seeing his student wearing something he hoped he wouldn't. Izuku, well, I came here for that rat. Midnight, why are you here for Nizu? Izuku, he's the reason why my family couldn't get away from Japan, and look where it got us. 𝗵𝘃𝗄𝗏, what do you mean? Izuku, it means he was the one preventing us from leaving behind our family's past. I blame him and the HPSC for the death of my mother. He said, summoning Ronald and the inventory curse for him to use playful clouds. The teachers were aware of how powerful the curses were and that they needed to be careful of Ronald since he was the person fighting the Nomu at the USJ. Izuku commanded Ronald to attack Eraserhead first, since he was the most annoying one to deal with. The others watched as Aizawa was flung into the air by an uppercut from Ronald, jumping into the air and chasing him while he caught himself on the roof. The three heroes saw Izuku rush at them and prepared to attack the boy to capture him by orders of Nizu. The fight wasn't easy as Izuku knew how they attacked and dodged, swiftly hitting 𝗵𝘃𝗄𝗏 with the end of playful clouds, knocking him away a few meters behind the two. Midnight ripped the arm to her suit and released her quirk into the air to knock him out, but it didn't as Izuku jumped away from her. 13 used her black hole quirk to pull him in. A rip in the air behind Izuku appeared and out came the grasshopper, jumping at her to kick her helmet, knocking her back to the wall. 𝗵𝘃𝗄𝗏 got back and screamed at the grasshopper, making it jump away in pain from the loud noises he made. Aizawa kept hitting Ronald with strikes that barely made the beast flinch nor hurt at his attacks. How own quirk hadn't worked on it, and the best thing was to hope that his fellow teachers would defeat Izuku so Ronald would stop attacking him. That wasn't the case as Izuku was dodging 𝗵𝘃𝗄𝗏 and Midnight's punches. They were amazed that someone who wasn't even a pro at all was beating them, and at the same time it was annoying that they couldn't defeat someone with less experience than them in the field. 13 laid on the ground with a bleeding wound on her stomach, and the grasshopper giggled at the injured pro hero on the ground so easily. The fight didn't take long when the grasshopper came jumping in the middle of the three fighting and cut 𝗵𝘃𝗄𝗏 on the chest, causing him to back away in pain. It laughed again at the pain of the two. 𝗵𝘃𝗄𝗏 had tried once again to use his quirk and was interrupted by Izuku hitting him in the throat, making him try to take in air as he laid on the ground, trying his best to breathe. Midnight, worried for her friend, hit the grasshopper away and was going to end the fight quickly to help him, but was stabbed in the shoulder by Izuku, who was holding a sword. He took out the sword to stab her thigh to prevent her from going any further. The fight was ended with his grasshopper curse and him to be the victors of the fight. Izuku looked up to the roof while Ronald held Aizawa by the head. He jumped off the building and landed next to Izuku, looking at Aizawa still breathing but close to losing consciousness that Ronald had caused him when he had hit Aizawa on the head. Now let us go see that rat. Izuku walked away from the four on the ground, injured by the loss that was handed to them by Izuku and his curses. Inside Nizu watched the fight go on and the door opened where Izuku and the curses were standing. Nizu put down his phone with a caller ID still on it. Nizu, Midoriya, to what do I owe the pleasure of your meeting? Izuku, with how much you know. You should know why I'm here. Nizu, I know. But you have to know it was for the betterment of Japan, you know. Your mom wouldn't like to see you go down this path. Izuku, you have no right to say what my mom wanted or didn't. The only thing that matters is killing you for keeping us prisoners here so that everyone in Japan would hate us. Nizu, you have every right to be mad, but like I said, this was a better outcome. Izuku, so you think my mom dying was a better outcome? All of this wouldn't have happened if you had let us leave this cursed place the first time. You and the 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟 kept us locked here for the sins we didn't commit. I'm not the real monster here. It's you and that accursed commission buddies of yours. You are all the real monsters. Nizu, I didn't want it to happen. Your mom dying wasn't part of our agreement. Izuku, you are all the reason for this to happen. So in turn you all got what you wanted. The other version of my grandfather, the one who will kill you all. Nizu, we can work this out. Midoriya, I can help you if you do not destroy the school. I wouldn't want to live if this place was destroyed. Izuku, you still are going to lie to the bitter end. So be it, rat. Ronald came walking up to Nizu, lifting him into the air by the collar and choking him with it. The window shattered in pieces as a figure punched Ronald in the face. All Might stood in a punching pose with a steaming fist, finally looking up from the ground with a sad look on his face. All Might, stop this or I stop you. Midoriya. Izuku, All Might. I'll not stop until this rat is dead along with the 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟. All Might, that is something I can allow you to do. Izuku, don't get in my way. All Might. Tokyo Miruko ran, stomping on many curses' heads and killing them in an instant with her powerful kick. Other heroes fended off curses and defeated them as many more were coming in big hordes, killing people as they ran for their lives. Students from UA were also present with the curses ravaging Tokyo and Shinjuku. Heroes killed as many as they could but were no match for the curses, tearing them apart. A large flame was in the air, blasting the ground and killing the horde at the bottom, burning them all to ashes. Endeavor alongside Shoto were on the ground taking care of the curses. Shoto looked to his right with a disgusted look, once again being forced to use his flame, and walked away to help anyone in need. Endeavor flew to the curses flying in the air, shooting at him, and sliced them all with his flaming webs. The group screamed in pain as they burnt, falling to the ground. Shoto walked further, seeing his father flying away when the bodies fell to the ground by his father's attack. But as he walked away from it, the hands of the curse lifted to him like he was reaching for him, pleading, "Help me, please." He looked at the body crumbling to dust, pleading for him to kill it. His face showed nothing but on the inside. He was shocked. The creature possessed emotion that was something he would need to tell his father or another hero. Helicopters flew in the air, showing the wreckage of the curses made to the city. People watched as heroes fought them to protect civilians running away. They cheered behind their screens, seeing the heroes in action, but what they hadn't known was Hosu was also being attacked by Nomus, destroying the city. So now the heroes were backed into a corner with the issue of short reinforcements from coming to their aids. Heroes from other prefectures came to Tokyo and Shinjuku to help out with their fellow heroes. Hawks flew through the air looking for someone, or rather the culprit of who was behind the attack on the two cities, and looked for Izuku, who was fighting with All Might back at UA. All Might blocked Ronald's fist with his arm and countered attack him with a smash to the chest, blowing him away. Izuku hit All Might on the face, causing him to spit out pain and grunt in pain. He did not know that Izuku had grown strong the past few weeks they last met, so he had to be aware of him along with Ronald that took on the Nomu with no problem. Nizu watched the fight, calling another person who was Hawks flying into the battle, kicking Izuku away from All Might. Izuku looked up to see Hawks and smirked at him and was met with a smirk back. The two looked at each other. It lasted until All Might attacked Ronald, leaving the two alone with each other. Hawks, you know, kid, you would have been a killer hero. Too bad you ruined it. Izuku, you also knew about my mom, didn't you? Hawks, yeah, I did, but I wasn't there. Izuku, well, let us fight then, no need to drag this one-sided conversation any longer. Hawks, I agree with that. Shinjuku large curses knocked buildings down, killing the people inside trying to escape. Shinjuku was taking over quickly since there were not many heroes located there to help, but the ones who helped were killed quickly as they came. The curses walked around killing people when they saw them running. People that were watching the TV saw Shinjuku crumble before their eyes, and the TV was cut as buildings came crashing down and the screams of people were heard from the helicopter. On top of a building, 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗏 stood on top of a building from afar watching Tokyo go up in flames and heroes running there to help out. 2 other people came walking up behind them and greeted them. How long has it been since I saw you, little 𝗧𝗏? You look so big. 𝗧𝗏, it has been years, Lady 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏. It is good to see you, big sis. Mickey, oh how I missed you all, look who I brought. 𝗧𝗏, Tokage, is that you? Rio, hello, 𝗧𝗏, it's nice to see you and 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, hey y'all, how are you girls doing? Mickey, we are good, but what is this about 𝗵𝘃𝗲 Geto having a grandchild? 𝗧𝗏, he is at UA right now fighting All Might and Hawks. Rio, well, what are we doing? I want to meet him, let's go help him. 𝗧𝗏, I'm afraid he doesn't want anyone to help him as he said that he got his cursed spirits to help him out. Mickey, he even has the same quirk as 𝗵𝘃𝗲. 𝗧𝗏, for now we are waiting, but we have something else to attend to, so you can come out now from behind that door. So you knew I was there, huh? Don't worry, I come in peace. 𝗧𝗏, who are you? I am a man with many faces but the same mind. 𝗧𝗏, look buddy, we have something we need to do. That boy down there is going to meet his fate soon. They looked at the man wondering what he was talking about and looked over to where UA was at. If you don't want him to die, you will let him meet his fate and bring his body to me so I can help him from his fate to die today. Mickey, what are you talking about? Just heed my warnings and meet me here if you wish to save the boy's life. With that, the man walked away from the group who were confused with what the old man was telling them. UA Hawks blocked Izuku's attack with the playful clouds, knocking it out of his hand and kicking him back to the field. All Might ped his fist back and punched the grasshopper, killing it with a single hit. Ronald was embedded into the ground and knocked out, bleeding from slash marks over his body, slowly healing. Izuku breathed with a bruised face and cut marks on his clothing. He looked at All Might walking beside Hawks ready to take him in, but he knew Hawks had other plans as he knew that the HPSC ordered Hawks to execute him. All Might, give up Midoriya. This is over, we won, now stop with the attack on those cities. Izuku, not until I have won, All Might. This will not stop at all. Izuku knows he was trying to win a losing fight right now, so now it was time for his last attack. An attack he knew wasn't ready to use, but right now he has no choice in the matter. He lifted his hand in the air, pointing his index finger to the air when black smoke was forming from the tip of it and swirling into a ball and grew bigger. Human-like figures were reaching out of it, trying to escape. Alongside him was a cursed spirit helping him with his next attack. This technique isn't ready, but it is all I need to win. This is for you, Akio, my friend. And you too, Mom. Maximum Uzumaki. Izuku, I do this for justice. And no one will stop me, not even you too. All Might knew that attack was dangerous from the looks of it and ped his fist back with all of his power. Hawks got away from the two as Uzumaki formed into a large smoke ball. All Might's fist glowed, ready to use his power to bring Izuku down. Izuku, you all will know the taste of power. One for all. 100%, Uzumaki was launched at All Might right before had used One for All to clash with Uzumaki. He was getting pushed back by the power of Uzumaki but gained the upper hand as he poured all his strength to overpower Izuku. Now seeing that he was losing the battle, pushed his quirk to its limit. All Might pushed Uzumaki back successfully and it had disappeared. Izuku's eyes widened as All Might punched him directly in the chest, causing him to fly back in pain while coughing out BLD into the air. All the heroes the explosion from the direction of UA. Izuku was in the air trying his best to land without being harmed. He tried to use his cursed spirit, though the punch from All Might had weakened him, and his cursed energy reserves were almost depleted. Only enough to send out a small spirit to catch him from falling any further to the ground. Once he was on the ground, he noticed that his right arm was no longer there and couldn't see from his right eye. The right of his body was burnt from using too much of Uzumaki, and his ribs were broken by the punch from All Might. He sat in the alley trying his best to recover and retreat for now. Though fate had other plans for him. Hawks came walking into the alley holding a knife in hand. Izuku plan to actually kill me. Hawks, just doing what I was asked to. Izuku, like an obedient dog. Hawks, you're the one on the ground so you shouldn't be talking. Izuku, you're right. Hawks, any last word before I kill you now? Izuku, no matter what anyone says, I'll always hate you. Monkeys. Hawks walked up to Izuku on the ground accepting his fate. Hawks crouched down and put the knife to his throat before slicing it. Izuku choked on his BLD, smiling at Hawks before falling to his side, dying from the pain. Hawks pulled out a camera that broadcasted to every TV station, and the 𝗵𝗃𝗃 president was sitting in her office pleased with Hawks. Everyone looked at the TV to see Izuku on the ground with a slit neck, his lifeless eyes staring up at the sky. 𝗵𝗃𝗃 president, you have nothing to fear any more, people of Japan, for we have stopped the grandson of Suguru Geto. He is now dead, and now we can live in peace knowing that his cursed family is gone to no longer hunt us. People began to cheer while some were like a white-haired lady bawling her eyes out, gripping her sheets. Kana and the group could only look at Izuku, remembering the sacrifice that their emissary made for them. All Might was helping Nizu before he saw his body and jumped off to where he was launched by him. The camera was knocked out of Hawk's hand and broke when the screen was turned off. All Might ran to Izuku's body and could only look in horror as he was already dead. All Might, what did you do, Hawks? Hawks, he needed to die, All Might, or else he would have done the same thing again, and you know that. All Might, and you call yourself a hero. Killing him doesn't help. And now you killed someone who we could have helped. Before I do something I will regret, Hawks. Hawks could only jump off before flying back to the 𝗵𝗃𝗃 HQ. All Might looked at Izuku before closing his eyes for him and grabbing him. Back at UA, the teachers were all in front getting healed by Recovery Girl. They looked to see All Might carrying the dead Izuku in his arms. Aizawa got up from the ground and ran to All Might to check on his student, only to see he was now dead. The rest of the teachers walked to All Might looking at Izuku and could only look away in guilt. 1 week later, a man in blue clothing put on gloves and reached for scalpels. He walked to the corpse of Izuku Geto Midoriya and was about to cut him open but was shot in the head. Kana and Isao walked up to Izuku's body and picked it from the cold bed. They walked out building with everyone dead inside when the lights turned back once, so no one knew that they were there at all. In a warehouse stood the group waiting for the old man to get there. Mickey, where is this old man? Rio, settle down, me just wait a bit longer. Isao, he should be here right about now. Sorry about that wait, did you bring what I asked for? Kana, that body of our MSDR's grandchild. Yeah, we did. Isao, what do you plan to do with him, old man? You will have to watch and see, young man. Kana, if you dare do anything to him I'll kill you here and now, old man. I have no intentions of doing that, lass. The old man walked up to Izuku's body and touched his forehead, right before looking back to the group. You will all see a miracle. They watched as the old man wheeled Izuku's body inside a small room where all sorts of tools sat on a table. He grabbed a saw and turned it on to cut his forehead, carefully going around his where BLD came out of the line he made with the saw. The old man put Izuku's head on the table right before taking off the top part of his skull to reveal his brain. He looked at it and took the stitches off his own forehead. His brain had a mouth on it and he reached down to take Izuku's brain out of his skull. The old man held it before his brain and the mouth on it began to devour the brain. It was offered to the man's brain, ate Izuku's brain, fulfilling what he was here for, and reached for his own, ripping it out of his skull and putting it inside Izuku's skull where it had fit perfectly. The group outside the door waited for the old man to finish what he was doing with their MSDR's grandson. They opened and they were shocked with what they were looking at. Hello. The body of Izuku smiled at them all with the same stitches the old man had. Kana's eyes widened, figuring out what the man had done to her MSDR's family. She swiftly took out her rifle to aim it at Izuku. The rest soon followed her lead, also knowing what the old man had done. Kana, what the hell did you do, old man? The group activated their quirks, ready to strike whoever this man was in front. It was no longer Izuku Geto anymore, it was someone different. What do you mean, Kana? Isao, you seem to have stolen the boy's body. A real shame. I wanted to talk with the young MSTR. Oh, you will soon enough. My time is minimal as of this moment, seeing as I'm dying as we speak. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, speak now or I'll shorten that time than it already is, old man. This will only take a few minutes. You see, what do you all know of the awakening of quirks? 𝗧𝗏, what does this have to do with the fact you stole that boy's body? Please just answer my questions. 𝗵𝗃, from what I heard, the first awakening was 200 years ago in China with that glowing baby. It was the first ever recorded quirk sighting back then. Indeed, you are right about that baby, but knowing that was the first ever recording of a quirk, no one would have ever known that baby wasn't actually the first ever quirk to be born into this world. Rio, I never really thought about that. 𝗵𝗃, let him finish speaking. Rio. What you all don't know is that quirks aren't natural at all. They are living parasites that have evolved, and they had a hand in evolving us. While doing so, the parasites were the birth givers of quirks, and in many of the people in the world have a parasite inside their bodies called quirks. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, that still isn't answering our questions. I'm just telling you all my knowledge before I die, but you all must be worried for this boy. What I'm trying to say to you all is that I have given the boy a second chance at life, though at a trade he takes the will of my soul and makes it his duty. 𝗧𝗏, and what exactly is that will of your, old man? The boy will tell you, or not. For now it is no longer my duty to uphold anymore. 𝗵𝗃, so you will bring him back? Most certainly, but you must wait for a while so that he can adjust to what is happening to him, as he had experienced death no too long ago. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, you had just said you were dying, so bring the boy back now. That was merely to calm you all down. The boy will be back in 3 days, so I must prepare him for what is to come in the future. They watched as he walked out of the warehouse in the dead of night. Izuku walked without being seen by anyone as he made his way to where he told the person to meet him. So I'm here. What did you want? I came here to give you a recruit. You may already know him, but I had found him nearly dead in the forest. Who are you talking about? Just then, Izuku walked around the corner to show the man what he was talking about, and on the ground was 𝗬𝗏𝗍 lying there with bandages on his body. The man looked at Izuku, but he didn't see his face at all, as he was wearing a black jacket with a hoodie covering his face. All right, now this will take a load off my back with my client. I must take my leave now. 𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗔𝗍, have a nice night. 𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗔𝗍 watched him walk away from the two and dragged 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗍 inside before calling Shigaraki. While talking, a warp gate opened with 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗍 walking inside it, getting a hold of 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗍's sleeping form on the ground. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗍𝗍, where did you find 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗍? 𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗏, one of my best found him in the forest bleeding and was taking care of him. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗍𝗍, this man was thought to be killed by Izuku Geto. I had witnessed it with my own eyes. 𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗏, I don't know what to tell you. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗍𝗍, my client dropped him off since he was the man to find 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗍 in the first place. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗍𝗍, my 𝗵𝗃 will take care of this problem, so thank you, 𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗏, but I must be off with 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗍. 𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗏, alright, you know what to do if you need something. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗍𝗍 was gone, but some the window was a cursed spirit listening in on the conversation between the two men. Just wait, all for one, my new successor will take over my plans. Meanwhile, in a dark void, Izuku was floating in the void wearing the same clothes he had died in. He opened his eyes to see where he was at, but saw nothing but darkness. That was until someone walked toward him with stitches on his forehead. The man walked up to him with a stoic face. I do not have much time, young Geto. But know this, I have given you a second chance at life to fulfill my dream. After I have told you of my plans, you will be back in the real world where you will start. Izuku wasn't given enough time to process what was going on as the man touched his forehead with his hands. Thoughts and memories flooded into his own. BLD, ashes, wreckages of homes, memories of the man cutting people's foreheads. The memories made his mind hurt. Seeing so many things at once, the man's mind clashed with his own. You now know of my plans and techniques as of this moment. You must carry my will, Izuku Geto. Find all for one. With that, the old man had turned into ashes and scattered into the void. Izuku felt himself being pulled toward something bright. Izuku sat on a chair when he suddenly got up, breathing heavily. What the hell was that? My head hurts. Izuku lifted his head to look where he was and thought Hawks hadn't killed him, but his surroundings didn't look like a prison at all. He looked towards the door and it opened, where he saw Kana and other people looking at him, surprised but tense, as they didn't know if it was the same old man from 3 days ago or their MSDR's grandson. Izuku, 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗍. Meanwhile at UA, the footage of Izuku and his cursed spirits played on the screen, defeating the 4 heroes who were defeated by his power and the might of the cursed spirits. Everyone in the room was tense, talking about Izuku and the death of the boy. It had a major toll on Aizawa seeing his student fighting them all in battle and not in a training exercise. Toshinori stared at 𝗍𝗓, who was being awfully quiet while watching the footage of the boy. He remembered the day Izuku had attacked the school and the conversation they had about 𝗍𝗓 being responsible for the death of his mother, along with a deal he had the 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟. Toshinori, 𝗍𝗓. I heard what you and young Midoriya were talking about a few days ago. Mind elaborating on what he told you? 𝗍𝗓, there is nothing to talk about, Yagi. Toshinori, there is much to talk about, 𝗍𝗓. Aizawa, what is he talking about, rat? 𝗍𝗓, he is talking about nothing, Yagi. Am I right? Toshinori, we'll talk about this after. 𝗍𝗓. Toshinori buffed up into all might before walking out of the room and glaring at 𝗍𝗓, who could only sit there with a slightly shaking paw. The rest of the staff could only be shocked seeing the big man himself lose his cool in front of them while he walked away from them. The only thing he could think about was the imagine of Izuku's body burnt and with no arm and a slit throat lying against the cold wall. He's only just a child. Why would they do this? I know he is Suguru Geto's grandchild, but that doesn't justify what Hawks nor the 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟 did with young Midoriya. Damn it, only if I got to him first, then all of this would have been solved. After the meeting between the teachers ended, All Might walked to the office where 𝗍𝗓 was located, but walked throughout the school with a grim face, no longer smiling to show the students, but now all he could think about was that conversation Izuku had with 𝗍𝗓. He heard some people whispering at the fact he wasn't smiling at all and just walked by, no bothering to say hello to anyone. All Might barged into the office to see 𝗍𝗓 sipping tea like he didn't know what was going on at all. 𝗍𝗓, on the other hand, could only look at All Might's burning gaze aiming toward him, and all he could do at this moment was take the gaze. 𝗍𝗓, Toshinori, take a seat. All Might, you don't get to call me by my name no longer. To you it is All Might and nothing more. 𝗍𝗓, right? Well, All Might, what can I do for you? All Might, you know what I'm here for. 𝗍𝗓, tell me what you know about the death of Inko Geto Midoriya. 𝗍𝗓, a misfortune of the poor woman. All Might, cut the AC. From what I heard, you are the cause of her death alongside the 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟. 𝗍𝗓 sighed while putting down his teacup and turned his chair around to look outside to see many UA students walking around the building smiling at each other and having a great time. 𝗍𝗓, if you would like to know, then I would prefer you not in that form. All Might. Begrudgingly, All Might debuffed himself to Toshinori and stayed standing, only further annoying more that 𝗍𝗓 was trying to push aside the conversation and avoiding his gaze. 𝗍𝗓, would you like a cup of tea? All Might, pushing the hot tea towards Toshinori, who couldn't hold his anger any longer and threw the cup of tea at the wall. Toshinori, just get to what I'm here for now, or I'll take matters into my own hands. 𝗍𝗓 now. 𝗍𝗓, sigh, you don't get. All Might. Toshinori, get what exactly? 𝗍𝗓, the whole reason why we did what we had to. Toshinori, and what is your reason to kill someone? Just because they were related to a villain? You know, one for all is related to all for one, so should I assume you are planning to kill me too? 𝗍𝗓, we wouldn't do that. All Might, you are the symbol of peace. We can't just kill you because of that reason. Toshinori, do you even hear yourself? 𝗍𝗓, you can't kill me because of my title as number one. That doesn't tell me anything, but you and the 𝗵𝗃𝗧𝗟 are twisted enough to kill a child. Who knows, maybe you guys kill children over their quirks and we wouldn't have known. 𝗍𝗓, we don't kill any child. All Might. Only the children with quirks that we deem not fit for the hero society. Toshinori, are you insane? You kill children over a quirk? Something that they can't control. You are supposed to support the children and guide them, not kill them. This is something I can no longer stand for. From here on out, you are to be left out of conversations about One for All and will not meet my successor. If I see you talking to Melissa about anything else other than school work, you will force my hand and I will be leaving UA if you do. All Might said, buffing up in his suit and walking out of the office, slamming the door and breaking the wall next to it. 𝗍𝗓 could only look at the door with a tinge of fear in his eyes. Izuku sat in a room holding his head, remembering everything he saw in his mind, memories of people in his head, the conversations he had with them, and the many other things he was slowly remembering. The name of the people had said to him was Kenjaku. The things he remembered were cutting the heads of people and waking up in their bodies. Next were living their lives as the person and raising kids with people. The most noticeable was the Izuku saw a young man with red hair who looked familiar to him, his red hair burning bright as he remembers all the memories of this man. 𝗧𝗵𝗃 walked into the room putting a plate of food on the table in front of him and sat down next to him on a bed. Izuku, what do you want? 𝗧𝗵𝗃, I just came here to see how you are. Izuku, from losing an arm and getting killed then being revived. I don't know what to say. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, you know you are going to have to hide your face, right? Izuku, you've told me this like 100 times. Orders from that man who revived me. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, so do you remember who you are and who that man was? Izuku, I do know who he is, but it doesn't matter now. I have to get ready to enact my plans now. 𝗧𝗵𝗃, and what would that be? Izuku, that would be none of your concern, now leave. She looked at Izuku putting a black jacket on and covering his face from the light before walking out of the house they were located at. The group watched Izuku walking out at night and saw him walking somewhere. Izuku walked from the warehouse not wanting their help at all. The only thing he needed was to find a certain metal for his plan and find all for one, but that wasn't going to be a problem as his special grade cursed spirit was at their location as of right now. He smiled knowing that the plan was already coming together now and all he needed to do was wait for the perfect time to do what he must. Izuku walked into an alleyway before being pushed from behind and was on the ground trying to get up, but was pushed down by a person's foot on his back. Well, look who we got here, boys. Ha, look at him on the ground. Let's take his money and kill him. Settle down, let's have our fun, boys. Yeah, the boss knows what he's doing. Izuku only looked at the ground with his face covered by the dark of night. The thugs kicked Izuku's ribs, making him fall to his side and receive another kick, but to the face, uncovering it. Much to the horror of the men, they looked like they had seen a ghost. But how? We all saw your dead body. What the hell is going on? Before they could say anything else, everyone heard a growling noise coming from the sky and saw bright yellow eyes staring at him. It was the rainbow dragon opening its mouth right after it bit the head off of an unsuspecting thug. The rest could only stand in fear when the rainbow dragon came after them and tried to scream for help. Izuku, 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗵𝗃. Thinking they're high and mighty, well, we'll see how high and mighty you are soon, wretched monkeys. 𝗬𝗍𝗍 sat at a table looking at everyone at the bar but mostly at Shigaraki yelling at Kurohige about plans to raid the summer camp that the UA students were going to. Shigaraki came marching at 𝗬𝗍𝗍, who only looked at Shigaraki with a smirk. Shigaraki, since you were gone for a while, you are going to that camp and leading it, do you hear me? 𝗬𝗍𝗍, yeah, sure, why not, could go have fun with some students, you know. Shigaraki, good, so you need to hear my plan and who I want you to capture. 𝗬𝗍𝗍, let's hear this plan of your oh gracious boss man. Shigaraki scoffed, walking away from 𝗬𝗍𝗍, who followed him to where Kurohige stood talking to Magna and Mustard. 𝗬𝗍𝗍 knew what he was there for and paid attention to the plans for his MP. Shigaraki, once again here is the plan. 𝗬𝗍𝗍, I am making you the vanguard leader for this mission, and once you are there, cause as much chaos in the forest with your fire to distract them while Himiko searches for the targets. 𝗬𝗍𝗍, so who are we going after, boss man? Shigaraki, you are all going after two students named Shoto Todoroki and Katsuki Bakugo, the two of whom I plan to recruit to the League of Villains. Toga, oh, can I get some BLD while I'm there too, please, Shiggy? Shigaraki, do what you want, you crazy girl. That leaves the rest of you to find those two targets. I don't care what you need to do to get them here, just do and keep them alive. 𝗬𝗍𝗍, when are we doing this? Shigaraki, soon, we just need our mole to tell us the time and date along with the location, so for now just do whatever until then. 𝗬𝗍𝗍 walked away and walked outside to inform his 𝗵𝗃𝗃. He walked to a park where someone was standing looking at the swings and 𝗬𝗍𝗍 walked up to the person. 𝗬𝗍𝗍, I got their plans. Izuku, good, thank you 𝗬𝗍𝗍, so tell me, what have they planned? 𝗬𝗍𝗍, they plan to raid the summer camp that UA students are going to, and we have to capture two UA students named Shoto Todoroki and Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku, those two, huh? Well then, thank you, and it seems that all you know, right? 𝗬𝗍𝗍, yeah, but I'll tell more after we get our information soon. Izuku, good, but now I must get going. 𝗬𝗍𝗍, so can I get some more? Izuku, oh forgive me 𝗬𝗍𝗍, here you go. Izuku's hand lit up with cursed energy and he put his hand on 𝗬𝗍𝗍's head before pushing his cursed energy into his body, boosting his quirk even more than it already was. 𝗬𝗍𝗍 felt the power coursing throughout his body and smiled at the fact he was getting more stronger. Izuku, Sorry 𝗬𝗵𝗶, but that is all I can give you. Though you inform me more about their plans, I'll give you more power. 𝗬𝗵𝗶 only paid attention to his flames that burned brighter than usual and thanked Izuku before walking away from him to get more information. Izuku walked away to where he needed to go. 1A Everyone sat in the bus talking with each other about the summer camp they were going to, all but one, which was Melissa Shield, who looked outside thinking about something on her mind. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏, hey, Melissa, what's wrong? Are you not excited about the summer camp? Melissa, oh sorry if my mood is bothering you 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏, but I just have something on my mind, that's all. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏, well you can tell me anything Melissa, you are our friend. Melissa, yeah it's okay but I'll tell you some other time. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, alright but just know I'm here. Melissa only nodded at the brunette and continued to look outside. She was thinking about the broadcast this past week, and the fact they would show the death of a student bothered her very much. With that student being the grandson of Suguru Geto, she knows that he was trouble in the past, but with the way everyone talked about Izuku Geto Midoriya, she would guess that they had something to do about him doing what he did. The image of Izuku's body is still fresh in her mind from the number of people spreading it on the internet with each other making fun of his body like it was a plaything to them. It made her sick seeing even people at UA doing the same. She thought they were supposed to be heroes, and even images spreading of people breaking the tombstone of their family to spray painting many gross stuff on the tombstone. This was something she wished that she hadn't seen, but it was everywhere. Her father even saying he deserved it, making her see him in a different light than before. The only people in UA who stopped the image from spreading more was her teacher Aizawa and her uncle Might, who scolded anyone making fun of Izuku's body. The thought of them made her feel happy that they were doing that. She knew Izuku was a murderer, but looking behind that look was a boy who lost it all and was shunned by society, but the people had forced his hands to do what he did. The bus stopped when Aizawa got up, rubbing the sleep out of his eyes, and made everyone stop talking. Aizawa, alright, this is our stop. Ida, make sure that everyone grabs their bags. Ida, yes sir. A walked out of the bus grabbing their bags as a black car was near where they were and everyone was stretching their bodies. Aizawa looked at them before beginning to talk. Aizawa, we didn't stop here just so you could stretch, did you? The car doors opened to reveal two women in cat clothing with a boy next to them. The two women introduced themselves as the 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗏 Pussycats. 𝗵𝘃𝗲 and 𝗵𝗃 posed for the students and looked as Melissa lit up knowing who they were. Melissa, whoa, it's the 𝗬𝗏𝗍𝗏 Pussycats. They are mountain rescue heroes. They formed a very long time ago when we were kids. Jiro, you sure know a lot, Melissa. She just chuckled, embarrassed by the compliment, and listened to what they were going to tell them. Aizawa, now that you met them, say hello. Everyone, hello, nice to meet you. 𝗵𝗃, this whole land of the forest is what we own, and over there at the base of the mountain is where you will be staying for the summer camp. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, then why are you here and not at the camp? Tsuyu, well, all know what is going to happen. Sato, that can't be true, right? Zero, let's go back to the bus. Denki, good idea, man. Load up. Everyone agreed with the three and hurried to the bus, but 𝗵𝗃 smiled at the students rushing back to the bus. 𝗵𝗃, you got about 3 hours to reach the camp. Good luck, everyone. They rushed back to the bus, but 𝗵𝘃𝗏 was faster than them and put her paws on the ground for her quirk to activate, causing them to be pushed back by the ground. The students were in the air screaming. 𝗵𝗃, if you kittens don't make it back before your 3 hours are up, you won't get lunch. Melissa wiped the dirt off her shirt and looked up to 𝗵𝗃 smiling at them from the top. Aizawa looked too, seeing his students. 𝗵𝗃, like I said, we own the land, so go ahead and use your quirks as you please. Meet you all at the camp. The group groaned on the ground as they looked up to see a beast biting a tree and rushed to them, but Katsuki had blasted it with his quirk. It busted into rocks and everyone got up to get to the camp in 3 hours. Aizawa stood talking to 𝗵𝗃 while 𝗵𝘃𝗏 held her visor, and 𝗵𝗃 looked serious talking to Aizawa, who was curious as to why she was acting this way. 𝗵𝗃, Aizawa, you were there with that Midoriya boy, right? Aizawa, what do you mean? 𝗵𝗃, like you saw his spirit thingies like the report says, right? Aizawa, he called them cursed spirits. Why do you want to know? 𝗵𝗃, well, right after you know. With Midoriya. Something came here and we wanted to let you know. Aizawa, it had something to do with Midoriya. 𝗵𝗃, it would be better for you to see what I'm talking about at camp. The four of them drove off to camp and made it. Aizawa got out of the bus to see 𝗵𝗃 standing still before calling for someone, though the name sounded familiar to him. 𝗵𝗃𝗍, come here boy. The bushes shook when a head popped out of it and Aizawa's eyes widened at it, remembering it all too well. Ronald came out of the bushes wagging his tail to 𝗵𝗃𝗍 before dropping to the ground waiting for her to pat his belly. 𝗵𝗃𝗍, this is what I was talking about. His name is Ronald, but from the looks of it you already know his name. Aizawa, 𝗧𝗏. Is he here? Midoriya. 𝗵𝗃𝗍, we don't know. He suddenly came scratching at our door before shrinking down to a normal dog, but he had a note in his mouth. Aizawa, a note. Could I see it? 𝗵𝗃𝗍, yeah, follow me inside and I'll give it to you. They walked inside a house that belonged to them and where they lived. Aizawa followed 𝗵𝗃𝗍 into a room where she dug into a box and pulled out a letter. 𝗵𝗃𝗍, here you go, you can read it while I go talk to the gang. Aizawa opened the letter with Izuku's handwriting and looked it over. The note made his chest feel more heavy than it already was. Hello, I am Izuku Geto Midoriya. If you are seeing this, then I have won my fight with the heroes or I have died fighting. I'm sorry. I wanted to thank you for bringing back the pendant that I had given to my dear friend. Just know he died doing what he knew was for the best, saving you and that little boy of yours. I know you must feel hatred for me. If you do see that I won or lost, I'm sorry if you think I have dishonored my friend, and I will take that to my grave. Just know that I feel no hatred for you nor the people who had tried to save my friend. So if I had died fighting, I leave you this, my childhood dog and the pendant of my friend and me. I wish you luck in life and wish you no harm will be done to your team. Sincerely, Izuku Geto Midoriya. Aizawa could only stare at the note with a lump in his throat, hurting, but coughed before anything would happen. He looked inside the box to see the pendant that had dried up BLD on it and opened it up for him to see Izuku and Akio smiling happily with the young men made Aizawa wish he had done something to save the two of them from their fates. He couldn't change the past, and now Izuku was dead, not ever coming back. Melissa ran, activating one for all to boost her legs to run faster, but as she ran, something or someone was standing by the trees smiling at her. Melissa blinked and thought she saw Izuku standing at the tree smiling. She couldn't go back to look as golems came rushing at her. Inside the forest, Izuku stood watching the students run for their lives, and just watched from afar, making his plans begin. As they made it to the camp, just in time for it to begin, 𝗬𝗏𝗍 stood beside him grinning, watching too with Izuku. Izuku, come along now 𝗬𝗏𝗍, we must get going. 𝗬𝗏𝗍, yes Mstr. Izuku held a cube in his hand and smiled at it. Everything was falling in place, and now all he needs is All for One to complete everything. Just wait, All for One, I'll be coming soon.